Good morning and welcome to the Nevada State Board of Pharmacy April 2025 meeting. Today is Wednesday, April 17th, and our meeting will now come to order. My name is Helen Park and I will be the presiding officer. We'll start with the Board of Pharmacy mission statement. In regulating the practice of pharmacy, the Nevada State Board of Pharmacy has a duty to carry out and enforce the provisions of Nevada law to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public. Next, we'll do our roll call. Ms. Crystal Freitas. Here. Mr. Richard Tomaso.
Here.
Ms. Jade Jacobo. Mr. Adam Porath.
Here.
Ms. Anna Carr.
Present.
Okay, and Ms. Shanice Taylor has been excused today. We do have a quorum. With that, Mr. Weiss, any announcements?
Good morning, Madam President. Good morning, public. This meeting will be held in conformance with open meeting law. There will be people, most of the people attended will be in Zoom today. The board will be able to see the TV in front of them. The public can look to their left and see them. Other than that, no other things. Have a good meeting, Madam President.
Great, thank you. So as our next order of business, the board will open up the floor for any public comment. If we have anyone in the room or online or on the phone wishing to make public comment, please come forward now or raise your hand on Zoom or press *9, *6 to have your line unmuted. Okay.
Not seeing anyone, Madam President.
And I don't see anyone coming forward in the room. So for now, the period for public comment will be closed. There will be another opportunity at the end of our day today as well for public comment. With that, we'll move straight into our agenda with our workshop item. And I will turn that over to you, Mr. Weiss.
Thank you. The language that was in the board book is still the language that you have in front of you today. Brett had reviewed that and wanted to add some more authorities at the top. So I fixed that this morning. And he's going to say something about it too. And I handed out paper copies to you and to the public. Go ahead, Brett.
Brett Camp, for the record. Sorry, I'm battling hay fever this morning. Just a couple of things. Certainly, this is a workshop. You're focused on the substantive items. Depending upon the outcome of the workshop today, we'll send your language to LCB, but I will, for instance, it says a regulation relating to the locations where a pharmacist may practice pharmacy. I think this was cut and pasted from an old workshop document. So we'll clean up those little things. This is obviously a regulation related to EMTs and paramedics, but those little things. And also, once again, nothing substantive would be changed depending upon what you do, but I'll probably massage the language to make it a little more the way LCB would word it. So that we have hopefully minimal changes by the LCB drafters when it goes to Carson's.
Thanks, Brett. Okay, so into the language itself, which is the same. We've had multiple requests during the pandemic. EMTs, which are not licensed by you, they're licensed by the health department, have been expanding their practice like many other medical professionals have. And what they did during that time is they assisted doctors and nursing in hospitals to administer medication. And so in working over the past couple years with the health department, historically EMTs can only possess and could only possess and administer medications in an emergency situation by definition of the title that they had. And that's changed slightly over time. And so the health department put out some guidance saying that there's some national standards, and if they're working inside those national standards, that they would be able to expand to different locations. And so one of the locations that has come up is in hospitals. We have a nursing shortage, and the EMTs are able in some circumstances to help mitigate that a little bit by helping nurses administer medications. And there's more that, I mean, I think at Adams Hospital, they may want to do this. There's other hospitals too that want to do it. I've talked to many. So I've run this language by the health department themselves, and they're comfortable with it. The ask for you is just in chapter 454, you have statutory authority over when and where they administer. And so we're just kind of matching this up to what the health department guidance is. And so if this passes, it would allow them to assist in the medication administration. They could possess it. The key things are they have to have an order from a doctor, so they don't have any independent authority, or the nurse can't give them any independent authority to be able to possess or administer. It would be for non-controls. That's certainly a big topic at the legislature this year, still controlled substances. So it would be, they couldn't do controls, and then they can only do them in hospitals. I have heard subsequent to this that in our chapter, we list hospitals and correctional institutions together. They operate very similar. They have the same license type from us. And I think board staff would be okay that if it's good enough to do in a hospital, it's good enough to do in a correctional institution. So that's the one modification that came up after this. And Helen's an expert on it. I talked to her lightly about it, but she might have some opinions, and maybe that's not a good thing. So that's the gist of the language. What we're definitely not allowing would be what we've already seen, where we have EMTs starting hydration clinics and going out and doing hydrations. That those are not emergencies, and they're not in a hospital setting. And so we will continue to say that is against the law when we find them, and then take proper action on those. So I just want to be clear about that. And then that's all I had. I can answer questions. Adam has this. I talked lightly to Crystal about it too, so she might have some opinion. So you guys are the experts on it, so you don't need me.
We always need you, Mr. Weiss. Thank you for that, for the information on the proposed language. Before we turn it over to the board, I'm going to open it up for public comment on this workshop item. So if we have anyone in the room or anyone online who wishes to make a public comment related to this workshop item, please come forward. Hi, good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having us here. For the record, my name is Melody Osborne, and I'm the Chief Nurse Executive for Renown Health. As we all know, Nevada is facing a very critical shortage of nurses. In fact, the state of Nevada needs over 6,000 registered nurses to meet the national average today. This shortage threatens access to care as hospitals struggle to maintain adequate staffing levels. And the impacts of the shortage are evident as hospitals have had to close vital services due to the inability to hire clinical staff. To address this issue, we have implemented many different tactics. We have implemented a unique academic practice partnership in order to stabilize the nursing workforce here in our community. In addition, we have also redesigned our care team based model to include the use of an acute care technician. The acute care technician is trained and certified as an EMT or a paramedic. And these acute care technicians operate under the supervision of the medical director of the program. This medical director also oversees the skills and competencies of our acute care technicians, and their role has been instrumental in assisting the delivery of care and reducing the burden of our caregivers. I would just say, as clinical and community leaders, it's really our responsibility to support initiatives that enable the clinical workforce to safely meet the healthcare needs of Nevadans. And I urge you to amend NAC 454 to allow those trained and certified as EMTs and paramedics the ability to administer medications under the order of a practitioner. And I also have my colleague here, Jimmy Lau, the Director of Emergency Services, to talk a little bit more about that program.
Good morning. For the record, my name is Jimmy Lau. I am the Director of Nursing for Renown Regional Emergency Services. The acute care technicians are part of the team-based model at Renown Health in providing high-quality care for patients. The foundations to their integration in our care model focuses on skills acquisition, professional development, competency, communication, and critical thinking. The onboarding process involves several weeks of training and development with our EMT-trained acute care technician educator, nurses, and physicians. The hybrid format of onboarding includes a simulation to the acute care environment, online learning, hands-on demonstration using a competency-based tiered acquisition model of training, a bridge to their foundational training. This includes assessment, intravenous access, mobility, and documentation. On a quarterly basis, they go through a series of training with the ACT medical director in developing their competency and training. The ACTs are part of our team-based approach in caring for our patients and their loved ones. Their training is an important part of our success in completing the care model to ensure the safety and promote the well-being of our patients.
Any questions?
Yes, before you go, I do have a question. So for me, it's somewhat, this is somewhat new in terms of kind of picturing the workflow or the care model as you described. Can you walk me through how, a little bit, you talked about the training, and then how do you ensure like roles, responsibilities, and not overlapping with the nursing roles and responsibilities, and how you kind of separate those two or ensure that the acute care technicians, as you call them, don't end up performing outside of their scope?
When we started this program at Renown Health, we developed a scope of practice or practice guidelines for the ACTs. That way they are clear and are aware of the training and the skill set that they bring to the hospital. There might be some overlap, but it is very clearly delineated for the ACTs to only perform what is in that document. And we have also embedded them in our some of our policies so that it is very clear that what they're doing inside the hospital is guided by policies and protocols and have been vetted by the medical director. If there are any issues and concerns about what they do in patient care, they have their chain of command as far as being able to question their scope of practice. For example, Dr. Mayer, who's online, is always available for them by phone or in person to discuss some of the concerns that the nurses or the ACTs may have.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for answering my question and for your comments and testimony today. Great. Do we have anyone else who wishes to make a public comment?
Checking online real quick. Nobody online, Madam President.
Great. I will move it over to board for board discussion.
I have just a quick question. An EMT, paramedic, are these the same people that are in ambulances that go out? Well, does this say that they could possess the dangerous drug and they could administer it only in the hospital? If they come to a business where someone an emergency, they're always mobile, and there are casinos, for example, they come all the time. Can they administer a drug to the person they have right there?
The direct answer is yes, if it's an emergency. So I'm just going to go over one thing that I probably should have done to start. If you look at D, you are not giving independent authority. I mean, I think you have the ability to, but we're working very closely with the health department. So to be very clear, they would set the standard for what their practice is. You're just saying that they're allowed to possess it when they're meeting that standard. And so that said, everything that they do right now in an ambulance, not being affected. This is an add-on to this, that they could do all those things and this on top of it.
Okay, so in a licensed hospital, doesn't mean actually they got to be in the hospital.
To do this part of it, they would have to be in a hospital, but there's other language that's not in front of you today that already allows them to drive around in an ambulance. And if somebody's having a heart attack, they could give a drug, including controlled substances in that instance.
All right.
So we're not paring anything back. The request was to expand, to support this expansion of their practice. I guess that's been safe. And we're just, to be very clearly, working very closely with the health department. So they're going to control what their scope of practice is. You're saying that if this passes, we are saying that they can do these things if it's allowed by the health department. And right now, they're saying it's allowed.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yeah, and Brett Camp for the record. So this would expand their existing authority to include their authority to possess and administer in hospitals.
Just have one small suggestion, not substantive, but under paragraph C, subparagraph C,
Mhm.
you change it to read protocol related to the possession of the dangerous drug instead of or.
Sure. I know you like writing regs, so you did your.
And then I think to be consistent with the language that we have, we typically do, as Mr. Weiss mentioned, have hospitals and correctional institutions. So I think it makes sense to kind of expand that, to include correctional.
I don't think that it's happening in a correctional institution, but I can say to the testimony today that you know better than I, those same parameters are happening. So this might be something that the prisons and the correctional institutions want to look at.
Absolutely, yeah. I do not believe it's happening. They haven't mentioned anything about any, utilizing EMTs in that capacity. So it's interesting, and it may be something that could be very supportive for care. So with that, I don't have any other questions or concerns. I think adding correctional institutions and then, of course, the change as requested by Mr. Kobo, I'd feel comfortable
And
moving.
then we'll tidy, I apologize for the top part. It was a cut and paste issue. So Brett caught it and tried to tell me, but I just drove right through it.
Any other questions or comments? Otherwise, I think might be ready.
Yeah, I would move that we adopt the proposed amended regulation with the suggested revisions as discussed.
You got it.
So Fern Park, I'll second. All right, so a motion by Ms. Jacobo, second by Helen Park. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. All right, thank you. We're gonna continue on with our agenda. We'll go to agenda item 9D for Meta Pharmacy Services. If we have,
I thought that we were gonna take till 9:30, so I told them to jump in at 9. So if you just take one and then they'll be ready for the next one.
okay, no problem. We will go to 7A for Box Out LLC. If we have representatives from Box Out LLC, if you could please come forward.
Brought three of us.
Okay, great. Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. If I could have each of you state your full name and titles for the record.
Matthew Miller, I'm the compliance manager.
Okay,
And Kramer, I'm the CFO and the compliance officer.
and Kramer. Okay,
Ken Kramer,
And-
sorry, Ken, sorry about.
see you now on my list. I was like, okay, Ken Kramer, got you. Okay,
And I'm Dennis Partain, the Regional Director of Operations for the West.
second.
Yes, that's Partain is.
All right, I'm going to swear all three of you in together, but I need a verbal affirmation from each of you. You could join me in raising your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony that you're about to provide will be both truthful and complete?
I do.
Yes.
Great, thank you so much. All right, Ms. Moazes.
Thank you, Madam President. Monica Moazes, Board Counsel for the record. This is agenda item 7A, Box Out LLC. Beginning on page 2367 of the board book. Members of the board, this is an application for a new wholesaler to be located in McCarran, Nevada. Thank you all for being here today. It's very helpful to have all three of you. I'm going to walk you through a few questions to help the board better understand your application, and then they might follow up with questions and concerns that they have. And since you're all three here, feel free to answer, whoever wants to answer any of these questions. First, can you share with the board a little bit about the business that you're pursuing?
Sure. I can take that. So just some background on the company. So Box Out is a family-owned wholesale distributor broadly of health and wellness products. Specific to this licensure request, we have a significant portion of our business that ships medical supplies to patients with critical illnesses, so urology, ostomy, incontinence. So that's one part of our business. And then we also have some prescription skincare products that are, sold to dermatologists and to physicians' offices, so they can handle those on their side. We've been in business for 75 years. We are, when I say we're national, we have 4 distribution centers outside of Nevada, 1 in Florida, 1 in California, 1 in Ohio, and 1 in Jacksonville, Florida. We are currently, and Dennis is driving this activity, moving from our California facility to the McCarran, Nevada facility.
Great, and why would you like to open a facility in Nevada specifically?
I'll take that one again.
You take all the heat this
Yeah,
morning.
I'll take all the heat. So couple reasons. So number one, Nevada gives us a unique way into the Pacific Northwest. We do have a lot of customers in, specifically Washington, Oregon. So we love the location. Secondly, in California, where we're at, the market is pretty tight. The costs to do business there are continuing to escalate significantly. And as we went and looked across, the Northwest, the Pacific Northwest, we isolated in on Nevada as the place that we wanted to be, and then specifically Reno. And we're in a very nice new facility, new build that pretty excited about.
Great, I can't blame you for wanting to come to Nevada.
It's beautiful.
It is. Okay, so you mentioned that you're planning to wholesale medical devices, and then you marked dangerous drugs. Is that because of the prescription skincare?
Yes.
So can you tell the board a little bit about your business plan, and how you're planning to generate clientele specifically for the Nevada?
Sure. So we would move all of our existing business that's serviced out of California to the Nevada facility. Dennis on my right here manages several of our facilities, and he will actually be relocating here to run the facility in McCarran. And from a plan perspective outside of that, we do have a lot of targeted customers in the Pacific Northwest that now that we would be closer and shorter transit times, that it would give us an advantage to continue to grow.
Okay, so I know that you're transitioning the California facility. Are there any other changes to the ownership structure or leadership team, anything like that?
No.
So Mr. Partain, I do have questions for you specifically. It looks like you're going to serve as the designated representative and the MDEG administrator. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Have you held both of these roles before?
I've held the designated representative role in California for at least the last year and a half. I think Matthew will probably have a better idea of the timeline, or we could look it up. But yeah, I've held that for. I didn't prepare that. I don't have it in front of me, but it's we have 3 our leadership team in the California warehouse covers wholesaler, reverse distribution. And so, yeah, we'll be transitioning up with that.
For the boards, I'm familiar with that. It's each state's different, but California is very similar to ours. I think the one difference is they take a lot more administrative actions on their representatives, and like we kind of hold the business accountable, but they seem to go after, you might have seen that or experienced that. So they seem to hold that person more responsible for what happens in the business than we do. But other than that, it's very similar to ours.
And have you served as an MDEG administrator before?
No, I haven't served as that before.
Okay, so can you share with the board what experience you might have that's relevant to that role?
So the facility in California, I've worked at for coming up to 3 years, and all of the products that we manage and ship out of that facility. We have a RX grade product room that we have locked up and we have to manage internally. We have processes throughout the warehouse for receiving that in, getting it put away, maintaining oversight, and compliance with anybody that's interacting with those materials and making sure that they're certified and retrained or trained appropriately.
And board members, he does meet the hour requirements for both roles. Will you be physically present at the facility for at least 40 hours a week?
Yeah. Yeah, we're moving up.
Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and transition us to talk about the disclosures that you've provided. So they've disclosed several regulatory actions involving affiliated entities and individuals. What I will try and do is just briefly summarize all of them. If I'm missing something, if I misstated, please interrupt. It looks like in 2010, Moore Medical LLC, which is a predecessor company, entered into an agreed upon order with the Kentucky Board of Pharmacy and paid a $5,000 civil penalty for distributing prescription drugs without a valid license. And then in 2018, Boundtree Medical LLC was cited by the Mississippi Board of Pharmacy for shipping drugs to an unlicensed location. The license was placed on probation and a $20,000 penalty was paid.
Wait, this does not sound like our
Yeah, I was
business.
gonna
Yeah.
say, this doesn't.
It doesn't match,
us.
so maybe in this case, Matthew Miller, you wrote kind of a summary on
I
that. Do
did.
you want to walk us through that summary?
Yeah, and in
Sorry,
fact,
caught us off guard on.
I was like,
the first one didn't sound.
Four, yeah.
The second one, I'm like, wait a
It's a
minute.
test.
I was
Before you jump,
guy prepared.
before you jump into it, these are dated, and I think you probably learned that you needed a compliance person. So you have a compliance person. So when did you join the company?
I joined the company in 2020.
Okay, so
And here-
most of these were before that, so that you're, and I think for most of them, they were just what we call paperwork issues where, but if you want to run through, I mean, the board can read them if you want to run.
It's the only question I had is you mentioned that you put protections in place to prevent, reoccurrence of the sale of a prescription to a clinic that had a lapsed license, things of those, which are your most recent disciplinary action. So can you just tell us about what you did to prevent those? That's what I'm most interested in.
I would be happy to take that. So we implemented software called MedPro ID, which I'm sure you're familiar with. And it's also integrated into our CRM, Siebel. So a customer cannot be shipped an order without a valid license.
And this is, just to be clear, this is like, we have inspectors and this is one of our, tell the public so that they know we're coming. This is one of our hot topics for this year because we are, do you know what? I mean, it's a lingo, but medical grade skincare product, is that a term that makes sense to you? And if somebody worked at Obagi, so you understand that there's an Obagi that's a prescription strength, there's an Obagi that's not a prescription strength. And when we're running around the state, we sometimes see the prescription product in the wrong place. And so I think that's what Madam President's talking about. And a lot of times, unfortunately, it's foreign product and you're competing with foreign things coming in from Korea and other things because they're coming in illegally and we see that and try to put a stop to it. So can you tell us what you think the difference is between a medical grade skin product and is that always that's not a prescription item and you're marketing it as close to a prescription or they're marketing or?
No, I'll take
Okay,
that.
yeah.
If you want,
No,
I
go
mean,
Yeah.
so that they have their
You can address, you don't have to address me.
I'm very
FX
interested.
product. FX is the non-prescription products and
FX?
yes, they actually have FX on the product.
Ah,
So even.
As a part of, as opposed to RX.
Correct.
Okay, so they're trying to tell somebody something, okay?
Yeah, so if you're an inspector and you see, New Derm blender, for example, if it says RX only, and 4% hydroquinone, you have RX. If it says FX, it does not have the hydroquinone in it. So that's how you delineate between the two.
So these are really popular. Obviously, you know that, it's your business. And we just want the playing field to be level and we don't want prescription products where they're not supposed to be. So I think you sound like you understand that. We're glad you're coming to Nevada and you're going to do that for the Western United States. Okay.
Then the other part that Mr. Weiss touched upon is so drugs that come in from other countries that are not legal to be wholesaled here. How do you, what does that process look like for you when you work with your the manufacturers?
So it's very easy for us because 98% of the RX drug that we ship is Obagi.
Oh, okay.
We're their exclusive manufacturer, so we're getting direct from the manufacturer.
Exclusive distributor.
Yeah, is that what I
Yeah.
said?
Manufacturer.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
just like-
Yes.
I knew
We're
what
the,
you-
sorry. And also, of course, with DSCSA, you know, that makes things a lot easier because if you don't have an EPCAS file, you don't accept it. So that helps.
Excellent. Great. Thank you.
Monica, did you have anything else or?
No, that's all I had, and I apologize for, I think I scrolled down a little too far, but
It's no problem.
yeah, that's
Okay. Any other questions?
I think it's great seeing, I mean, for me, it's great seeing you. We're glad you're here. If we can be a resource to you, let us know.
And that's why we came, because you're gonna be, you know, now our home state board of pharmacy, so we felt that was important. Yeah.
Great. We're excited that you're here in Nevada. Any other questions for Box Out LLC?
I don't have any other questions. Having currently going through the designated representative process in the state of California, it's pretty onerous. So I'm confident. I would move that we approve the wholesaler application for Box Out LLC.
Christopher, just a second. Oh, I saw your mouth moving, but I didn't know if you were. So, motion by Mr. Porath, second by Mr. Kobo. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. We wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I think we'll move, well, maybe we'll give some more time, or are they here?
Meta is.
They are here?
They are, yes.
Okay, so we'll go with Meta Pharmacy. So if we have the representative from Meta Pharmacy Services, that's agenda item 9D. You could please raise your hand or let us know through the chat function.
Madam President, I just wanted to disclose that I'm familiar with the incoming pick for Meta, but I can participate fairly without bias.
Crystal Freitas, same disclosure. And Helen Park, same disclosure. All right. Hi, good morning.
Morning.
Okay, who do we have on the line?
My name is Rachel Gray. I am legal counsel for Meta Pharmacy Services LLC.
Great, thank
Derek.
you.
Derek O'Leary. I am president and the owner of the new Meta Pharmacy.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Andy Vukadenovich, Vice President of Operations for New Meta Pharmacy.
And I'm Eric Heikkinen, consultant for Meta Pharmacy Services LLC.
Great. Is that everybody, or did I miss someone?
The pick will not, it was short notice. The pick will not be able to make it today, so we're not expecting him.
Okay, I think there's one more person that I missed because I have 4 people on my list, but I see 5 people on the screen.
The gentleman with the Samsung username, are
Yes.
you here for this item?
Is he part of your group? No.
No.
Ms. Gray says no. Okay.
All right, we'll move him.
All right. So then what I'm gonna do is I will swear each of you in, except for your counsel, Rachel Gray. But for you 3 gentlemen, I'll swear you in. I'll just need a verbal affirmation individually from each of you. So if you could join me in raising your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony that you're about to provide will be both truthful and complete?
Yes.
I do, yes.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, I'll turn it over to Mr. Wiest.
Thank you, Madam President. In front of you, you have a change of ownership. You're quite familiar with it now. To set the stage, this is, you're done with the discipline part. We may talk to them about their willingness to accept the quarterly inspections, but I think that they would welcome those. But we'll deal with that. And then the application in front of you was turned in a relatively timely manner. I think for board staff, me in particular, I had the accusations that we were working, the investigation accusations I was working through at the time, and that is not a time when I can authorize the change of ownership. So I was contacted the month before last and asked the question, what's going on with my change of ownership? And I said, we have an accusation. And then we worked with them, which I think was a good relationship, to get the accusation done. The accusations that we did do done as soon as we could. And then they wanted to attend this meeting. They only wanted to move forward if you had resolved the issue with the previous owner and the pharmacists that were there. And so I think they'll tell their story. Rachel, I was able to find the paperwork for the managing pharmacist that we talked about this morning, and the board has that in front of them. It will become part of the record. As I've warned you, they may require an update of the application, or they might not, depending. But the application itself is pretty straightforward. They did disclose properly the prior discipline with Sean Barclay, who they thought was going to be the manager when they filled out this application. And I think they'll propose today that will change. So with that, I don't have too much else to say. Rachel may want to kind of just make an opening statement, or one of the new owners. So just again, describe, two of the people are owners, and they've not owned a pharmacy before, but they've owned other, I think, publicly traded businesses, I think I remember. But you maybe just tell the owners, or Rachel, you can start with what you want to say.
Yeah, I'll just give a very brief statement and then turn it over if that's okay.
Sure.
So just like a brief context, the asset sale was completed in January 2025. Prior ownership operated more or less as a sole proprietorship, which I hope sets some context. Our clients are now in a period of active transition and are fully committed to replacing the single person model with a structure that's built around strong internal controls, clearly defined roles, and a reliable process. They've carefully reviewed the stipulations and the allegations related to the disciplinary matters that you discussed yesterday. Since taking over, they've already taken meaningful steps to enhance the compliance and regulatory oversight within the pharmacy. I want to stress that work is ongoing. As we noted, with me today are the president and vice president of operations, and they'll speak more closely to the operational details and the forward-looking plans and answer any questions that you may have.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so Derek O'Leary, again, I'd love to say I'm happy to be here, but I think we all agree this is not the way I wanted to meet all of you. Just a bit about my background, and then I'll fast forward to the pharmacy and where we sit today. So prior to this acquisition, I spent 25 years on Wall Street. I started at firms like Merrill Lynch, worked at Solomon Brothers, later worked at Goldman Sachs. I then was very fortunate to get tapped to start a new firm, which at the time was called Owl Rock Capital Partners. We later merged with a company called Dial Capital Partners and went public about 3 years ago as Blue Owl under the symbol OWL. My role in that organization, obviously one of the original 5 partners and founders, but I was the CEO of the securities business. Why that's so important and relevant to today's hearing is that is the most highly regulated area of the business. The broker-dealer is regulated not only by the SEC and FINRA, but all 50 state regulatory boards. I had built that company up to be the second largest alternative broker-dealer in the world behind Blackstone's. We operated when I left in 26 different countries on 5 continents. And I can say, and obviously it's a matter of public record, I have never had a compliance issue in my entire career, nor has any organization ever been sanctioned that I've been in charge of. I take compliance incredibly important and incredibly serious. Even prior to me learning of these allegations, the plan was to reinstitutionalize every aspect of the pharmacy, everything from financial controls, which I know you're less concerned about, financial controls, operational controls, regulatory controls, pharmaceutical controls. We've begun that process, again, prior to all of these allegations. We did extensive due diligence on the pharmacy. Eric was a critical part of that. we hired a third-party consultant for compliance, Quicken Associates, John Quick. I don't know if anyone's familiar with him. He's been in the industry about 40 years. And candidly, none of this came up. I'm not sure what went wrong. I'm going to be doing a post-mortem after we get this behind us. But I was as shocked as anyone to learn about these allegations. As I mentioned, fast forward to how we got here. I only learned about this, as David mentioned, when we inquired about what was taking the chow so long. That's when I learned about this. Andy, who I had hired just prior to learning about these allegations, although he had to give notice to his old firm, joined us about 7 days ago, moved his family from Florida all the way out to Nevada. So not only is he a new employee, he's a new resident of the state. And I'm looking forward to working with him. We are in the process of hiring a compliance officer. We have obviously filed the application for a new PIC. We are also looking to bring John Quicken Associates back on for some ongoing compliance and operational consulting. So it's a long-winded way of saying I'm shocked by this and I'm disappointed in a lot of things, but I can assure you our goal and plan is to build a pharmacy that the state of Nevada can be proud of.
Okay, thank you for sharing that, Mr. O'Leary. So it does seem unfortunate that you have a long history of no compliance issues and you are now inheriting a number through this acquisition. Not sure how much of it you observed yesterday, but the board has a significant amount of concern in terms of the safety and the operations of how the MediPharmacy was previously operated. And so just concerned that that moving forward, that those influences or those practices that are not legal will not unintentionally continue. So it's you talked about, you come from a field that's highly regulated and there's a lot of compliance, and pharmacy too is very highly regulated. So it's good to know you have that experience. And I think that experience is going to be key in ensuring that there are no future issues.
Yeah, as I already mentioned, I can assure you I'm just as disappointed as everybody on the other side of the screen. I take my reputation very serious. I think one of the reasons that my partners and I have been able to build such successful organizations is because we're given the benefit of the doubt based on that history. I know none of you know me, and I don't expect you to give me that benefit of the doubt, but I can assure you our goal is to not consider regulators the police force of an industry. They are the partners of an industry. I welcome the quarterly inspections. I look forward to them. I look forward to learning from everyone and making sure that we're doing everything by the book.
That's good. I appreciate that perspective. And certainly we should be partnering together to ensure that it's safe for Nevadans. One thing I had a question on was regarding how you plan to work with your the former owner or former pharmacist in charge, and what that looks like in terms of a transition period.
Sure.
Before you answer, it's really fresh because they did not. I just want to set the
right.
ground.
Yeah. I was going to start like that.
Just yesterday.
We were going to take them yesterday, but they didn't have the right people. But I think, and you should answer the question, and then I might have one follow-up to it. So I don't think you're not expecting Sean to hold the whole company together. So anyway.
Well, look, just, set these allegations aside. Prior to the acquisition, the opportunity that I saw was a sole proprietorship where Sean was the CFO, the CEO, the CIO, the CTO, everything started and stopped with Sean. That's just bad business, right? Just forget about regulatory. That's just inefficient. It's not scalable. You're never going to grow past a certain point trying to be all things to all people. And things tend to break. You hope it's not compliance lapses or maybe even intentional compliance lapses, but but clearly something went wrong, and I'm not here to hash that. The point is that my plan from the very beginning was to diminish his role significantly, just because that's what the business would have required. So we have already brought in a controller to handle the financial controls. We brought in an operations manager. We're bringing in a compliance manager. We're going to hire a couple of more pharmacists, techs, et cetera. So the plan was to diminish that role just because it's good business, just strictly from a strategy standpoint. Needless to say, everything that I've learned in the last 6 weeks, and certainly in the last 24 hours, changes my views on what that role is going to be going forward. It would be incredibly premature for me to say what that role will be, but I can be certain that obviously will not be in any pharmacy capacity. You took care of that yesterday. It will not be in any leadership or decision-making capacity. I've lost all confidence in that. But as you can imagine, when you acquire a business where one person is running everything, it is very important to have a transition period. There are systems, like we wouldn't know how to operate if they went down. Not to make light of it, but if the AC unit broke, I wouldn't know who to call. Like, there just is an enormous amount of intellectual, historical knowledge that Sean possesses that someone who's owned it for less than 3 months, and certainly someone who's been on the team for less than 7 days, just wouldn't know. So having access to that information as we transition away from him is going to be critical. It's obvious to say he's no longer going to be an owner. You've solved that. He's no longer going to be a pharmacist. You've solved that. And I can assure you he's not going to be in a leadership capacity making decisions on behalf of the pharmacy or my partners.
Did you want to ask your question?
No, you got it.
Thank you for that. Appreciate that. And then I was also curious about, so it sounds like Andy's moved here. He's going to work from Nevada and play a major role in the operations. Andy, could you walk us through what your role will be and how you'll be operating in Nevada?
Certainly. So prior to moving to Nevada, I've worked a little bit about my background. I've worked in compounding pharmacy for about 8 years. I've worked in the medical field. I think, to date myself, about 24 years total now, in one capacity or another, in wound care and ostomy care and bariatrics and medical gases. And I started in the compounding pharmacy space about 8 years ago and transitioned there to a company in Florida, and very quickly worked side by side with the quality and compliance directors, making sure that I understood how to dovetail the operations side of things, and because it's not a silo, in a lot of different areas of different companies, you've got different silos, operations and sales and all that kind of stuff. But one thing I quickly realized and learned and very, very appreciated very much was the cohesive nature and required, intertwining of operations and compliance and the quality management teams, because it's all based on compliance and they have to be working in lockstep with each other. So I very quickly appreciated that and learned how to identify how to build the operations side of things in lockstep with quality. And we built those things together at the first pharmacy that I worked for. And when fast forward a few years later, I came to work with another company in out of Tampa, and so we moved to Tampa and basically doing the same thing, identifying the gaps within the operational structure and quality compliance structure, and work to bolster those and create new SOPs, redefine and redesign the training programs, installed an operational structure, organization, basically from the ground up, an entirely new organizational structure at that pharmacy. And in addition to opening up a brand new large facility virtually down the street from that one, and it was like to the tune of like 5 to 6x of what the original building was. And so with that comes with a lot of inherent challenges and opportunities to to develop the organization structure, to develop the standard operating procedures from where they were, and develop those into the new organizational structure and op structure. So we work closely with with those teams as well, and my counterparts, and that's where again I've developed a lot of history in identifying opportunities and challenges in building and developing those skills so we can build on and develop a top tier best in class compounding pharmacy. We've done that. It's a recipe for success, and we've done that in 2 other locations, very large entities that I'm sure you're familiar with, and so I was contacted and started working with Derek, and Derek first informed me about the opportunity with Meta Pharmacy Services. I looked them up. It obviously everything is public, and we looked, and most of the things that I identified were challenges, not unlike a lot of other compounding pharmacies out there tend to go through. And so very excited about the opportunity to come out here, work with Derek. I took a deep dive and had a lot of conversations with Derek over the course of almost a year before we actually came out to Nevada. And very excited to work with Derek and the team. They understand what compliance requires, what the operational structure is going to require. And it's a very exciting opportunity to be able to take something that we can build into something that Nevada and Derek and the new owners are going to be proud of. So that's the goal. And I know Derek has already kind of gone through some of the other details as far as what we plan to do and where we're going to take it. And Rachel mentioned we're going to be developing a new organizational structure with subject matter experts leading out those specific departments. We're going to be redesigning the training programs, implementing CQI programs. So we meet on a regular basis to identify and help mitigate issues before they become an issue, and identify solutions and implement those solutions. So it's basically, first and foremost, it's identifying and building out a compliance program, new org structure, training, and all of that leads into training and accountability. So that's sort of a high level thing of what we're going to be working to do.
Okay, that's great. And then those will be, those high level things are what you will be overseeing and managing?
Yes, directly.
Okay, great. Excellent. Okay, and then I also wanted to give Eric an opportunity. I'm curious about his role in all of this as well.
Sure. So I'm familiar with a lot of the folks on the Board of Pharmacy. Fortunate I've got a name that people go, oh, I recognize that last name. So I've worked with a lot of you for a number of years. Much like Andy, my background is in sterile compounding, home infusion therapy pharmacies, overseeing the licensure and certification for those pharmacies, some of which were at the time the largest sterile compounding pharmacies across the country before they were purchased and merged into other entities. Our role right now at ADIA Services is we do provide the same type of services we did at those larger corporate entities. We're processing applications, whether they're new applications or change of ownership applications for the pharmacies, and that's what we've done with Meta. We having been in sterile compounding and specialty pharmacy for 25 years now, we're able to, work with folks like Andy and the pharmacists in charge, et cetera, and help identify, inconsistencies in training materials and documents and policies and procedures. For example, during this change of ownership, we asked for a number of policies and procedures, and they were provided, and we were like, well, that doesn't quite meet what we're looking for. Can you go back and get us what we need from sterile compounding training specific? And then the pharmacist in charge, or Sean, would go, here you go. And so we do have that eye for detail on what the Board of Pharmacies are looking for and need. I think some of you on the Board of Pharmacy may get a little tired of me emailing you from time to time where I ask for clarification on, like, what are you saying here on this application? What does this regulation really, what do you need from us here with this regulation? But you're always responsive, so that's appreciative. Like Derek says, I never look at boards of pharmacies as the overlords of the licenses and authority. I often call Board of Pharmacy individuals my coworkers, and and really lean on them for experience that they have, and I'm not shy to ask questions. So, but as it relates to the ongoing role we'll do for Meta Pharmacy Services is continue to assist with the operations and filing of applications, renewals, change of pharmacists in charge, as you identified. We need to do that, and that has been done. And as Derek and the team decide to grow, currently the facility is licensed in, I believe it's 33 states, but I think the intention is to grab all 50 states, and we'll assist with that and make sure that the applications are filled out properly and licenses are obtained and maintained as they're required. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. And any other questions you may have, I can answer as it relates to the application that was completed.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. And I think sounds like a pretty solid team here. Now moving into your pharmacy staff. So you have Sean Barkley, and then I believe you sent in an updated application with a new managing pharmacist. Are those your two employees at this point in time? You mentioned also that you'd be hiring some pharmacy technicians.
So the new pharmacist that we submitted for as the pick is an existing employee. As you can imagine, this all happened very quickly. We were already in the market looking to hire additional pharmacists as well as technicians for the business.
So is the intent with the new managing pharmacist, and it looks like you put Tommy Din as the is it an interim position, or will he be assuming the managing pharmacist position?
He will be assuming the managing pharmacist position for now. But again, the reason I stress for now is because all of this is happening real time. And again, I need to get with the team, with Andy, and re-underwrite literally everything. Because obviously something went wrong. We did do an extensive background check on Tommy. He does have a clean record. He's excited about the opportunity. He's been a pharmacist for quite some time, and Andy can speak to his qualifications. But again, nothing is off the table.
Okay, and I don't know if we have we have it and we just don't have it in front of us, Dave. I know this just happened, so I am.
You have Dave Weisler, you have his change of managing pharmacist form?
Not his background.
That's the form that they turn in there. He's got no discipline with the Board of Pharmacy, as the owner stated.
Will he be the designated rep?
I think what I would tell you to do, and I'm fine with you approving it. And I've already told Rachel this, just because I don't know if it's real time or we're all reacting. I think we need a new clean application, and I would propose, if you choose to allow it, the board staff go through that. There's a name, we dealt with the name yesterday, and there were so many parties involved, and Brett and Bill were trying to make sure that they wrote a document that covered everything. And we don't need to solve today what the name's gonna be, but I was confused a little bit by that, but we did it. But Mark Cedar knows that they will probably need a new application. So that's what I would tell you to do. If there's any concerns, we'll bring it back to you. I'm not asking to, table or anything, but if you want to do that, you can. I can also say Joe Dodge has no questions at this time. I've been in communication, so.
Okay, I'll open it up, board members. Any questions for Meta Pharmacy?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Adam Forth for the record. I guess the piece in my mind that is a little bit missing is with Mr. Barclay not operating as a pharmacist anymore. I'd like to know about what Tommy's role has been in the pharmacy, what his qualifications are as a compounding pharmacist. If he's going to be assuming the managing role there. And then again, the question on what are the other employees within the pharmacy? I'd like to hear more about this team's expertise in the limitations of a 503A operation, given the allegations that happened previously. If they were approached by a clinic wanting medication for office use, what would their response be in that case? How would that be handled in the future?
Sure.
For board staff, before you go, I don't know Tom, I don't have a relationship with Tommy, but that's sometimes a good thing that I don't know who the people is. Joe doesn't either, because I talked to Joe. You guys said you knew him, so you probably know his character better than the board staff does. So that's what we have to say. Sorry.
Did you, Yanlong, for the record, Dr. Porat, did you want to speak with Tommy directly? Is that something you wanted to do?
Well, I think normally if we were to approve a pharmacy application, we would want to know about the qualifications of the PIC. I can't, given the change of ownership or the change of PIC form, that doesn't really provide us with the background to say that that person is qualified to take that role in a sterile compounding pharmacy.
So
yeah, I think you're exactly right, Adam, but I think like if that happens in the background, even on sterile, so when you're 100% right, when we're doing the appearance for the application, that's something you dig into. And if you want to do that, then we're going to have, he's not available today. So that would be something we would have to dig into at a separate meeting. That said, if this happened outside of the meeting, board staff would review it. We go and see if there's any restriction on his license. And if there's not, we would allow it and we would pick it up during inspection. And we can change our procedure for that. That's just the procedure, but your question's completely valid. So
sure.
it's just too short. I mean, I've talked to them last night. I've talked to them again this morning. It just, like they did not know, and I think they give them credit for that any of this was going to happen. So they raced to get the manager. They took somebody that was there already. To your point, Adam, if we thought we had something on Tommy related to this, we would have charged him. We didn't, so that wasn't part of the investigation. And he worked there now. So
why don't, Andy, why don't you just, at least from a high level, give a few bullet points on Tommy's background, and then I can speak more broadly to the staff at the pharmacy.
Before you do that, I think one of the board members
We need to know, we don't need them to tell us Tommy's background. What I think is he's right. Adam's right. Are we approving Tommy as the change of pharmacy? Are we approving the PIC without him being here? Is that what we're doing?
Directly, yes, because they turned it in. I think directly, yes. That's what staff's asking you to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to see him.
I don't agree with it. I agree with Adam that he's got questions for him because of what happened yesterday. I also want to know, can you approve a change of ownership if they don't have a PIC?
So the answer is, we would, in normal procedures, you must always have a PIC. So there's no grace period for a PIC. When somebody's coming for a new application, we do not mandate, staff does not mandate under your guidance that we know who that PIC is, but we know before they open. In this particular case, you're both right. They're already opening, and that's why I'm running. So they're open, and then so today there's somebody needs to be the PIC at the pharmacy today. That's what the law requires. And so to answer that directly, they would need to have, you can approve the PIC. I'm trying to figure, I'll probably take a recess and talk to the attorneys and Yen and figure out if you don't want to approve it today, which is perfectly fine. If you want to approve it conditionally, and these are all your choices, but there's a pharmacy that is operating right now and Sean Barclay is the managing pharmacist.
Right. So I guess my thoughts on it is I agree with what my fellow board members are saying. But I do recognize that a lot of changes happened just within the last 24 hours. And regardless, there is no grace period for not having a PIC. They have to have a PIC. And so right now, their only option is Tommy Din. And so in order to have a pick, and so I think some of the questioning is, will he be the future one, or is this an interim solution? And that's kind of where I was getting at. I think, as I'm thinking through all of these things too, is, maybe it's as a possibility to move forward, we can say, there could be like kind of like a pre-inspection, but not a pre-inspection, an inspection within the next 30 days, just to ensure that things are going okay. I know we have some quarterly ones, but I don't know if that will help alleviate some of the concerns from board members, but I think they have to have a pick. So who else is it going to be at this point in time?
Yeah, I think again, Adam Porth for the record, I guess I don't know if this is possible, but what I would like to see is that given that they need to have a pick, is there a scenario where we could grant temporary licensure and that they would need to reappear at our next board meeting so that they can answer the questions to get permanent licensure?
Yeah, so I can grant temporary licensure, and you have all people are aware of that because you have a big staff, and so I can do that. But a change of ownership, I would never do, because that's your Brett shaking his head yes. Now, if you want to say we're going to approve the change of ownership, but we want to vet you can always vet anything that you want. So if you want the next meeting that he comes back and then you guys weigh in on whether you think he's qualified to be the manager, I think what you have in front of you right now, to be very clear, the pharmacy, and it is probably not going to happen because they'll just pick somebody else and then I'll process it like we normally do. But you could force the pharmacy to close until this is resolved because there's no pick. You could let Sean be the pick until the next meeting, or you can process him. And I know, like, the question that staff's asking, Rachel, if you could have gotten Tommy here, you would have. So we've talked about this. So like, that's not a possibility. So it's not like that. It happens so fast. So
I don't think they should suffer because of that.
I would say that you temporarily allow the ownership change and you bring him back for the next meeting, and you temporarily let Tommy be the pick unless you want Sean to be the pick in the meantime.
Oh.
And then we'll bring him back at the next meeting and settle this all up. And they want to end it, but that's not how it works.
Well, is it legal to just go ahead and give them the change of ownership and a conditional pick? Then conditional pick until we see him. In other words, the condition is he could do it now until. And if we find fault in it, then they're out of luck back at the next meeting.
Yes, you have you'll just say get a different pick. So,
Right, they'd have to
so you have a broad authority to put conditions on licensure when they're in front of you with, like, this isn't a due process issue. You have an application.
You understand that. Ed?
Yes, you can do that.
Right, okay, so I don't mind doing that, but you understand that Adam's concern is not just with the pick, because I heard him say that he'd like to know about the rest of the staff that was there under Mr. Barkley, and what their situation is, and maybe the pick could answer that since he was working with them.
Yeah, I do, but I think that is well within your purview, but there is a different investigation process that the board goes through structurally, and the staff has completed that. So we've done that, but I think you should be able to ask your questions. But you can't investigate and then make decisions based off of that in a board meeting.
So I think, go ahead.
Sorry, just, I obviously don't understand all the procedurals and what's permissible and what's not. What I would like to share is, on a go-forward basis, the relationship I expect this pharmacy to have with you all, I would never want to pick in there that you don't all approve of and feel good about anyway. So let's just take for granted that's a yes. We serve, I think, 8,000 prescriptions a month. 60% of that's in Nevada. That's over 5,000 prescriptions. We obviously want to continue to provide care to those patients. If we go down the road and you're so gracious enough to allow us to continue to operate with Tommy, I think we all agree it's better with Tommy than with Sean. I think I've heard that from you, and I tend to agree. With Tommy, who does have a clean disciplinary record, we did both criminal and financial background checks on him as well. It would be greatly appreciated. But if in the next meeting, in the next week, in the next visit, anyone expresses any sense of uncomfortable with it, one, I would want to know. And then two, we would immediately work with you to find someone you do all, envision working with going forward and make that change. Again, I can assure you, I want to be on the good side of this. And I'm really just looking to continue to operate the business, serve the patients of the country, obviously a lot of which are in Nevada. We obviously have a lot of employees that are counting on us. And I can't explain even how much I'm embarrassed to even be here.
So I think based on the feedback from Mr. Porath and Mr. Tomaso, we want to speak to the PIC. I don't think we want to disrupt the business. And so to continue on serving your patients, we want that to continue. And so maybe our best path forward is temporary licensure for now, and then
To me, and again, I'm always just trying to keep we have 45,000 licensees. So I think if you're comfortable, approve the ownership change today.
Okay.
And then say at the next meeting, you will vet yourself, the Tommy Din, the proposed, and you'll allow him to operate as that in the meantime.
I think that
I would like
that's
to
the
add
working
one
solution.
additional layer. I liked your
Sure.
idea of having like a pre-inspection,
Okay.
because our next meeting isn't for 2 months from now.
Yeah, I mean, I think we already know that.
Okay. So I think, is that something?
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that as long as we can see him back here in June.
You can. It'll be in Vegas, but yes.
Yeah, I feel comfortable with the ownership change. I really appreciate the testimony today. I feel a lot better about the future for Meta Pharmacy and what that holds for patients. But it does appear that, and maybe there's some historical context, but we want to make sure that your pharmacist in charge is appropriate for your appropriately qualified.
And again, for the record, I think, because I've talked to them a fair amount, if an opportunity comes for somebody else that fits their need better, then that might be the person that you see in June, just for the record. So that would be up to them.
So I move that we approve the change of ownership for Meta Pharmacy with conditional approval of the PIC, that he appear in the next scheduled Board of Pharmacy meeting, that we have a pre-inspection within the next 30 days, and that the pharmacy also undergo quarterly inspections at the cost of the owner.
It's already.
It's fine to be on the record, though. Yeah, I second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Cobo, second by Mr. Tomaso. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Thank you so much for your time today. We wish you all the best and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Sorry, Madam President. Rachel, when Chris gets back from vacation, we'll set up a meeting with this group and just kind of digest all that and figure out a path forward, okay?
That sounds perfect. Thanks so much.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go on with our agenda to item 8A for Kuhn and Nagel Inc. If we have representatives here, if you could please come forward or raise your hand on Zoom or let us know through the chat function.
Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay.
Hi, yes, I could hear you. Will there be anyone else joining you today?
Yes, Katie Ditmars is on.
Katie Knit Bars. We're looking for Katie. Yep.
Sorry, I was having trouble. Yeah, go ahead.
I think we got you, Katie. Okay.
All right, if I could have you both state your full name and titles for the record.
Via Philip, Director of Healthcare Regulatory Compliance.
Katie Ditmars, Quality Manager.
Great. And then will there be anyone else?
No, it's just us.
Joining you? Okay, great. So I'm going to swear you both in. You could join me in raising your right hands. Do you swear that the testimony that you're about to provide will be both truthful and complete?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, Ms. Tucker.
Thank you, Madam President. My name is Laura Tucker and I represent board staff as general counsel. Before you is agenda item 8A, which can be found starting on page 2472 of the board book. This is an application for a change of ownership for a Nevada warehouse licensee for Kuhn and Nagel, which is located in McCarran. So Katie and Ria, I wanted to check just briefly because the person who signed the application is Nadine Jones. Can you confirm that you both are authorized to speak on behalf of the company today?
Yes, I am. So Nadine was actually the officer for the company. She's one of the officers. She left in December and then we filed an officer change application. So there is a new officer, but she's no longer with the company.
Okay. And is it possible to get a letter from the company stating that you're authorized to speak on behalf of Kuhn and Nagel?
Absolutely. Yeah, I actually have that readily available, so I can send that over.
Okay, great. So can whichever one of you has the most information for my questions, feel free to answer. Can you just briefly tell us about the merger that occurred?
Yes, so I can go over that. Basically, we have our Kuhn Nagel Inc., which is the license holder, and then our parent company was dissolved. The parent company is Kuhn Nagel Investment LLC, and it was dissolved and the grandparent Kuhn Nagel Holdings took over. So now we have a parent company, basically what's considered a parent company name change. And for that, we're filing an ownership change application.
So with it seems like this is just, like you said, it's just a parent company name change. Are all of the employees at the McCarran location going to be more or less the same as before the
Yes.
merger?
Yes.
Laura, can I just say one thing? And you may have said it, but I'm not sure because I was doing a couple things. To be very clear, this is a big company, as you know. They have other entities that are on the consent agenda because they qualify, but this one had to appear because it's really like the new entity is the first time they've ever ran anything in Nevada. So I think Laura's questions will be towards, there hasn't probably been too many changes, but this is just a statutorily requirement that they appear. The other ones we processed. Just, if you covered that, I apologize, but I was doing something else.
I did not do that.
Okay, yeah, well, we're a team, so.
Can you also tell me, are all of your procedures more or less going to remain the same
Yes.
as they were? And then will there be any larger noticeable changes generally to the business after the merger, or the merger's already occurred?
Yeah, the merger's already occurred. It occurred in, our official date was 12/1, but there's no changes at all.
And then also, do you understand that you will have to have a board inspection before final approval?
Okay, good to know. Yeah, we're ready.
And then I just had, I see Sean Williams isn't here today, for board members. His application for the designated representative is on page 2491 of your board book. I just had a question about him. Is he currently the designated representative, Mr. Sean Williams?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't have in the materials that were in the board book, so I think the materials with the application, it didn't have listed his work experience. And I understand he's already the designated representative. But on page 2493 of the board book, that's where he would have put his employed hours. So he makes sure he meets the 6,000 hours. And that wasn't on the application. So I'm not sure if the board staff is going to want a new application that has that, or if it was just omitted accidentally.
Yeah.
So as you're speaking, somebody's probably going back into Lumen just to see if that might vary. There's more than likely, it's just
just got omitted.
It just got omitted into the board book, which doesn't happen. It used to happen a lot, doesn't happen much with the staff now. We'll tidy that up regardless.
Just to make sure, do you know how long he's been the current designated representative for? How many years approximately?
I would say 5, I believe. I've been here 3 and he was here before me.
Okay, so if he works full-time, then he has met the 6,000 hours if he's been there for 5 years. So that was all of my questions that I had. So I turn it over to the board for any questions they may have.
Thank you, Ms. Tucker. So I didn't have any other questions. I reviewed the applications on the consent agenda as well. The only main question which Ms. Tucker addressed was, would there be any changes with the ownership change? And it sounds like things will remain as they are. So with that, I would feel comfortable moving forward with the ownership change.
Yeah,
Before you do that, let's just set for the record, Jade's not here, so there you have 5 of you, and I just will, because the board staff will have to do this for the minute, so it'll be the 5 of you voting on it. But sorry, Adams.
no problem.
Thank you.
Adam Porth, for the record, I'd move that we approve the ownership change for the wholesaler license of
Warehouse.
warehouse license of Kuhn and Nagel Inc.
Do we need to state the application, like his work experience?
Application.
I don't think there's any issue with that, because he wouldn't have made it in, he wouldn't have been there. If he was there before this application came in, he's already met the qualification. I think Laura's questioning was good for the record, but I'm very comfortable that he met the qualifications. If I find out that he didn't, but we have to do a pre-inspection and we can loop it into that. Well, if there's an issue, we'll bring it back to you, but I just don't, sadly, I inspected this place when I was an inspector, so they've been around for a while.
All right, and then for the record, Ms. Jacobo is back.
Okay. Are you ready to vote on it?
So there is a motion by Mr. Porath. Do we have a second? Second by Crystal Freitas. Any further discussion?
Sorry, what was the motion?
Motion to approve the ownership change for Nevada Warehouse Kuhn and Nagel Inc. Motion by Mr. Porath, second by Ms. Freitas. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll take a break real quick, or do you want to keep going?
I think we can keep going to one more. We'll do one more. We'll do 9A AMG Pharmacy. So if we have representatives, if you could please raise your hand.
We're looking. Is that like? No. AMG Pharmacy, if you're on the line, please hit star 9 there you go. We got you. Thank you. We're going to ask you to unmute yourself. You clicking on it? Oh, okay. Very quiet clicker.
Sorry. Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Who do I have on the line?
Oh, I'm April M. Tsai.
Great. Will there be anyone else joining you today?
There should, my pharmacist in charge. Let me see.
Is that Terry?
Should be
Yeah.
Terry.
Okay.
Okay.
Terry, you there?
Terry, are you there? Okay. You're kind of coming in and out. Hello, Terry? You may have to dial back in. We can't hear you. Yeah.
Madam President, you may go to another one and we can come back to this one.
Okay, let's go to First Choice Pharmacy. That's 9B. We have First Choice Pharmacy ready. Let's go with First Choice Pharmacy. And then we'll circle back to AMG Pharmacy.
All right, caller with Samsung, can you speak? You have yourself muted on your line. You're unmuted in the system, but if you can hit your computer for mute. Try one more time. You may be good now. Can you speak? No, I don't think your microphone's working.
We can't hear you.
If maybe he wants to leave, re-enter.
Yeah,
And
All
then
right,
Terry,
let me see. How about now?
we can hear you now. We can hear you, we
Okay.
can't see you, but that's
I know,
okay.
let me get back here. Okay, all right.
Okay, great. Could you state your full name for the record?
Yes, it's Kirk Bollier.
Okay, Mr. Bollier, will anyone else be joining you today?
No.
Okay, all right, so I'm going to swear you in. You could join me in raising your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony that you're about to provide will be both truthful and complete?
Yes.
Okay, great, great. And we could see you now. Excellent.
Okay, great.
Okay, all right, I'll turn it over to Ms. Moazes.
Thank you, Madam President. Monica Moazes, Board Counsel for the record. This is agenda item 9B, First Choice Pharmacy LLC, beginning on page 2520 of the board book. Board members, this is an application for an ownership change of a Las Vegas retail pharmacy. And it looks like Mr. Bollier is the pick for this pharmacy. So thank you so much for being here today, Mr. Bollier. I have a
Yes.
few questions for you, and then I'll turn it over to the board for any questions and concerns that they have.
Okay.
Can you tell us about the ownership change?
Yes, I started with this company November 28th of 23. And the business wasn't working well for them, so I took it over as owner operator. I'm the pharmacist in charge. Now, I own the LLC. And they're no longer with me.
Okay, so you're now the owner and operator, and you also serve as the pick, and that's
Yes,
that's the change that we're looking at today.
correct, yes.
Okay, and is there any name change associated with the transition?
No, I mean, it's First Choice Pharmacy and a LLC, and I guess you'd say doing business as First Choice Pharmacy.
Okay, and how long has First Choice been around?
It's been around, from what I understand, for a few years. It maybe had an owner before these last owners.
Will there be any changes in services offered?
No, we're mainly a delivery pharmacy. Walk-ins are definitely welcome. But maybe do we deliver anywhere in the valley?
To the patients directly?
Yes.
So any changes to staffing, the dates that you're open?
Yeah, no, we're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. At the time of application, I was my only employee, but now I do have a technician in training.
So just the two of you?
Yes.
Okay. And for the record, board members, there were no disclosures provided as a part of this application. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll turn it over to the board for additional questions.
Okay.
So Mr. Bollier, it looks like you have quite a bit of experience based on your application as a pharmacist and pharmacist in charge. So I am comfortable with your background experience. The only question I had, and more out of curiosity, is who's doing the deliveries? Are you using a third party, or are you doing all of that?
We're mainly using a third party. I use B2B delivery service.
Okay.
Worked.
Okay, all right, great. Board members, I don't have any further questions.
I don't have any either. Madam President, I would move that we approve ownership change for First Choice Pharmacy.
Crystal Freitas, second. Okay, motion by Ms. Jacobo, second by Ms. Freitas. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Your ownership change has been approved today. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, do we want to swing back for AMG Pharmacy?
Yeah, I think they redialed in, so I think they're ready.
Right, let's try that.
Right, Ms. King, I believe you're unmuted, and Ms. Tsai, you're unmuted as well. Can you speak?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Okay,
you,
great.
Ms. Tsai. And Ms. King, can you speak as well? Oh, no.
Can you hear me? I will dial in then.
No, we can hear you.
Oh, there
Sorry,
you go. Okay,
Mr.
excellent,
King, sorry.
excellent. There we are.
Okay, we can hear you now. Wonderful, thank you. Great, so I'm gonna have you both state your full names for the record and your titles, please.
Okay, so I'll go first. My name is April M. Tsai. I am the owner and a pharmacy technician.
Hi, my name is Terry Kang. I'm the pharmacist in charge.
Okay, I think I know Terry Kang from
Yes.
Rosen University. Okay.
Hey, Dr. Park, long time.
Hi, yeah, I was gonna double check by looking at you, but I can't see you,
I know
but
my
I think,
camera says it's
Yeah.
on, but it doesn't, it's not showing me anything. It was
I
funny.
know.
This is locked
Right.
for some reason.
That's okay. The voice sounds familiar, and I will say that I am familiar with Terry King from his time at Roseman University, but I feel that I could participate fairly and unbiased in this matter. So with that, I'm going to swear you both in. I just need a verbal affirmation from each of you. If you could join me in raising your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony that you're about to provide will be both truthful and complete?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, me. Oh, Miss. Great.
All right, Madam President, thank you, Yan Long, for the record. I'm gonna just walk, so for Ms. Tsai and Mr. King, I'm gonna walk the board members through your application, and I'll have some questions for you, but they might also have some questions for you as well. So board members, this application is a pharmacy application. It begins on page 2501 of your board book. AMG Pharmacy is applying for a pharmacy license in Nevada. They will be located in the Las Vegas area, and they will be providing retail community pharmacy services based on their application. The pharmacist in charge is Terry Kang, and the sole owner and designated representative is April Tsai, who happens to also be a pharmaceutical technician. Ms. Tsai,
Yes.
why do you want to open a pharmacy in Las Vegas?
So I've worked with two other pharmacy back starting in 2020, and I watched their backgrounds and the way they run the organization skill wasn't up to my part in a way. So I want to open one and basically commit into like more customer service and a movement of that would provide a better service as a pharmacy versus the movements like I've been working with was I dislike.
Okay, which two pharmacies were these?
The two pharmacy I previously worked with, one was Ava Specialty Pharmacy, and then the second one was a LV Pharmacy and Medical Supplies.
And you said on your application, you'll be opening a traditional retail community pharmacy. Can you tell me what kind of drugs you'll be dispensing?
So we'll be dispensing of course, like regimen medications, of course, like over the counter medication. I am kind of contemplating if I should go through for pain medications, like such as narcotics, but that's not really the field route I want to take, unless if a doctor is like requesting saying, oh, I have pain management, then I might go towards that route. But in the meantime, I just want to focus on topicals, like, over the counters, topicals, and patient's maintenance, like a regimen medication. So that way they
Okay.
can get their medication.
So like chronic disease state medications, then you'll be supplying through your pharmacy?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. And how do you know Mr. Kang?
Oh, we worked together. He was the pharmacist at Ava Specialty Pharmacy.
Yes, I was a pharmacist in charge there at their Blue Diamond Ranch for the past 3 years.
Okay, wonderful. So Mr. Kang, you have some PIC experience, and it sounds like.
Yes, 4 years at CVS and 3 years at Ava Specialty Pharmacy.
Okay, wonderful. And for Ms. Tsai, how do you plan on getting business to your pharmacy?
Ooh, I did conduct a comprehensive outline of the business model and market strategy for our AMG pharmacy. So the market strategy of it, I did do a market analysis, a value propositions, and a marketing and promotion type of concept. So of course, market analysis, like are integrating is basically identify like target demographics of age, gender, the medical needs, and the behavior of the area, and then assessing the trends of like what form of demands, like, if patients are cardio or type of demands of prescription. So I focused on that kind of area for market analysis wise. And then the proposition value, of course, is to accommodate, to provide like accessible services, and by providing like a personalized care with the patient. And then of course, like marketing of attracting and, sorry, a little bit nervous.
It's okay. Will you be providing like MTM services as well, based on what you just said? Like more comprehensive care?
Yes, that is another type of care that I'm looking into to see if I could provide, based on the demographics of the patient surrounding.
Okay. And at your facility, are you familiar with the requirements of an actual pharmacy in terms of the physical location?
Yes.
And like restroom and everything? Okay, does your pharmacy have a restroom?
Yes.
Okay,
It
and
has
it's
a
in the
back entrance.
pharmacy?
Yes.
Okay, all right, that's good. We'll do a pre-inspection and everything. I just wanted to make sure that the location you chose does have a restroom and
Of course.
hot water and cold water sink and everything.
Yes.
Will you
Yes.
be doing any sterile, non-sterile compounding at this pharmacy?
No.
And Ms. Tsai, you mentioned that you are currently a pharmacy technician auditor for Las Vegas Pharmacy Medical Supplies in your designated representative application. Do you plan to continue to do that?
Yes.
Okay. So as a designated representative, you do need to be at your pharmacy full-time. How do you plan on doing both of those roles?
So I do have a station located here at the pharmacy. So I will be monitoring each of the prescription that comes in. So I'll be here 40 hours a week or more, but of course with a pharmacist availability in the pharmacy.
But you'll also be an auditor for Las Vegas Pharmacy Medical
no.
Supplies?
I will discontinue my work over at Las
Okay,
Vegas.
all right.
My apologies.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
I just
My
wanted to make
apologies.
sure.
Oh yeah, that would be discontinued.
Okay. And will you be working as a pharmacy technician as well for your pharmacy?
Yes.
Okay. And so for Mr. King, as Ms. Tsai is the owner, can she have access to the pharmacy, key access to the pharmacy now that she's the owner?
Oh, no.
Okay, very good. Just want to make sure that
Yes.
Ms. Tsai, since you're the owner now, even though you're the owner, you're a pharmacy technician, you can't have a key to the pharmacy. I
Correct.
just want to make sure you knew that.
Absolutely.
Okay, very good.
It'll be the same
All right.
routine. I'll wait outside for Terry.
All right, very good. Madam President, I don't have any further questions, so I'll turn it over to the board.
Okay, great. And then I do have some familiarity with Terry and his background, but I don't think we have a personal history application for him in the file. So I wonder, is that something we need to have a complete application? or-
He's the owner. He doesn't need to fill a personal history application.
Okay, great. And then, so Terry, could you just briefly, we know you work at Ava Pharmacy, but could you give us just a brief description of your work history?
Okay. Well, I don't work at Ava anymore. Upon graduation at Roseman at 2016, I was the pick at CVS over at Sahara and Buffalo, all the way until COVID. Then I got a job as a pick over at Ava Specialty Pharmacy, which was very different workflow. Unfortunately, I got laid off about a year ago, and I currently work per diem at One Point Patient Care Hospice.
Okay. Okay, great. I don't have any further questions. So board members, any additional questions for AMG?
No, Madam President, I feel comfortable with the pick and with their proposed business. I would move that we approve new pharmacy application for AMG Pharmacy pending favorable inspection.
Crystal Freitas, second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Jacobo, a second by Ms. Freitas. Any further discussion? Just one more question for April.
Yes.
What does AMG stand for anything?
It's actually my name because my full name is April May. So it's AM and then G for great. April May is great.
Great. April the Great?
I could not think of a name. I was like,
That is amazing. I'm so
exactly.
glad I asked. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
That's
was thinking about
great.
amazing too because AM and then Zing. But then like, I was trying to be kind of like A. I was like, oh great. So someone looked up like pharmacy, and I'm hoping the A would be the first pop up, or at least like the second or
That's
third
smart.
pop up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're like I was trying to figure out the marketing wise of how people can't spell too, so I just do 3 letters. So
Yes.
easy, right?
That's right. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
Thank
we have
you.
a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I think April should have to appear here in person.
I know.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Your giggles are contagious here. You're bringing
Oh.
us joy. Yes.
Oh, thank you.
No, she's really sweet.
Very good.
Thank you. Thank you.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Your application has been approved today. We wish you all the best.
Hey, thank you so much, Board of Pharmacy.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, thank you.
Great to see you, Dr. Park.
You too. Take
Yeah,
care.
bye-bye.
All right,
Bye-bye.
bye.
Bye.
Okay, well,
2 more, you can go, or it's your choice.
Oh.
You're good on time regardless, so.
going?
Yes.
All right, we want to keep going. Oh, actually,
All right, 5, you take 5, yeah.
5-minute break.
Sorry.
All right, we're back with our Board of Pharmacy meeting. We're going to continue on with agenda item 10A for Wedgewood Pharmacy. So if we have representatives from Wedgewood Pharmacy, if you please raise your hand or let us know through the chat function or press *6 or *9 to have your line unmuted. Hey, it's Joe.
Morning, Joseph.
Good morning, board members and executive and deputy.
Morning. All right. And it looks like we have a representative from Wedgewood. Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning. I'm Summer Wusso. I'm the pharmacist in charge at Wedgewood, the Bakersfield location. And we actually are going to have Ann Randall, our senior counsel, also join on the phone. I think she's there as well.
Okay, great. We'll look for her. Will it be just you and Ann?
Yes.
Okay, so while we're waiting for your counsel, I could go ahead and swear you in. Just once again, if you could state your full name for the record.
My name is Samara Wusso.
Okay. Ms. Wusso, I'm going to swear you in. If you could join me in raising your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony that you're about to provide will be both truthful and complete?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
For council, if you hit *9 or attempt to raise your hand, we'll unmute you. We're not seeing you right this second in Zoom. *6 is unmute, I think, or, yeah, raise your hand, *9, any of those. All right, we got her. Off click. And go ahead and unmute yourself on your side. We see you, Ann. Please unmute yourself. You can hit *6. You're on, if you're on your phone, *6. Click it
You click it harder.
We can see her, but Ann, can you shake your head if you can hear us?
I apologize.
Yeah, bad connection. You went away. Ann seems to be having some technical issues. Do you want to proceed without her, or you want the president to come back to you? We only have 2 more items, so you'll be the next item up.
Ms. Wusso, what would you like to do?
Sure,
Would
yeah,
like
if
us-
you, that's fine. Yeah, if you wanted to come back to us, that's fine.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next item and come back to you, or do
Okay.
you want, to continue? I'm sorry, I wasn't sure.
It
what
just
you-
depends. We can continue. If there was matters that she needed to speak on, then I may not be able to speak on.
Why
them.
don't we go to the other one? We'll come back. We'll see if we can't get Ann. It won't be long. You'll be up next. So, yeah.
Okay,
We'll circle back to you. All right. Okay, so
All right, Joe.
we'll go to agenda item 11C for Devendra Kumar Patel. So if Dr. Patel is on the line, you could please raise your hand on Zoom.
Good morning, Madam President. Lynn Beggs on behalf of Dr. Patel. He is on via audio.
We see him, Lynn.
Great, okay, perfect.
Lynn, I saw you sent me an email, but I didn't know that you had, was it about today or was it about something else? So I apologize. I didn't respond to it. So,
That was today, just to let you know, Dave, that I was going to be on here with Dr.
okay. Yeah. I just saw I just was buzzing through quickly. Sorry about that. So,
Not a problem.
okay. And we have him too. So he can go ahead and speak.
Dr. Patel, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we could hear you. Could you state your
Okay.
full name for the record?
Yes, Madam President. My name is Dr. Devendra Kumar Ishwarbai Patel.
Okay, Dr. Patel, I'm going to swear you in. If you could join me in raising your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony that you're about to provide will be both truthful and complete?
Yes, Madam President.
Okay, great. All right, I'll turn it over to Ms. Moazes.
Thank you, Madam President. Monica Moazes, Board Counsel for the record. This is agenda item 11C, Devendra Kumar Patel, beginning on page 2,930 of the board book. This is a controlled substance application for Schedule 2, 3, 4, and 5 drugs. Dr. Patel is appearing due to disclosures. Dr. Patel, thank you so much for being here today. I know that you're represented, so Ms. Beggs, up to you on whether you want to respond for your client or not, but I'll just direct general questions if that's okay, and then the board will follow up if they have any additional questions.
Certainly. Thank you, Ms. Moaz.
Sure. So Dr. Patel or Ms. Beggs, can you tell us a little bit about your current practice?
So I can tell you that, so Dr. Patel was granted his medical license by the medical board in December 2024. Dr. Patel is on a preceptorship for a 12-month period due to the length of time that he was out of clinical practice. We had to go back to the board in March because there was a modification made as to the individual who was going to act as Dr. Patel's preceptor. So right now he is being precepted by Dr. Rillo in Las Vegas. Dr. Patel resides in Elko, so he is traveling back and forth to Las Vegas, where he is providing cardiac and primary care under Dr. Rillo's office.
Okay, and Dr. Rillo, what kind of practice does he have? Is that cardiology?
She is pardon me, and Dr. Patel, you can correct me if I am wrong on this, but she is an internal medicine physician with a focus in cardiology.
Great, thank you so much. Can you tell us about why you're applying to prescribe controlled substances and the need that you might have for these?
Dr. Patel, do you want to handle that one?
Yes, definitely. So basically, for my practice of internal medicine and cardiology, I might be required to prescribe class 2 to 5 medications on an intermittent basis. So, and also to maintain hospital privileges in the future, as well as running my own private practice, I will need that license for sure.
Okay, and do you use an anesthesiologist for any procedure?
No, I don't use any. No, I don't use any anesthetics in my practice.
Dr. Patel is not doing any interventional cardiology procedures at this time.
Right.
Okay. So I know that you're appearing before the board today due to disclosures. And thank you for providing us with that documentation. I will do my best to go over them just kind of briefly, if there's anything you want to add or correct, please go ahead and jump in. So I did see a malpractice claim from October of 2012 for an alleged delayed diagnosis of essentially a heart attack that resulted in damage to a 58-year-old patient. That claim was settled for $125,000. Is there anything you want to share about that?
Yes, I would. Sure. So basically, he was a patient, 58-year-old male. He was suffering from intense substernal cardiac pain, basically chest pressure. So he ignored that because he felt that he's in a fine athletic physical shape. He exercised regularly. So he ignored that, right? So he was having this chest pressure for 3 days intermittently. And he went to his primary care, who performed the EKG and gave him some antacid. And basically he said, bro, it's most likely stomach issue because I know you well and you have been very healthy for a long time. I doubt it's a heart attack. Realistically, that was the heart pain. I mean, he was suffering from heart attack for 3 days. Ultimately, since it did not go away, he went to the emergency room and he was found to have basically in the midst of massive heart attack, right? So we admitted him. I admitted him to the intensive care unit in the Elko hospital and provided him with all the usual medications, blood thinners and all that. Subsequently, I gave the patient the option of medical management versus cardiac catheterization that we do in a typical case all the time. So he preferred, since his pain was resolved, he was feeling much better hemodynamically, etc. He still felt that he has no significant obstruction in the coronary arteries, right? Everything was resolved. He was feeling much better within 8 to 8 hours after coming to the hospital with all the medical treatment. So then he thought that upon doing the cardiac catheterization, his coronary arteries will most likely turn out to be okay, with some minor blockage here and there, because he prided himself, in his health, etc. But ultimately, it turned out that he had severe triple vessel disease. And then there was no other option but, sending him out of Elko for open heart surgery. And he preferred to go to Boise City, I think, at that time. So he went to Boise City, underwent open heart surgery, right? His ejection fraction in Elko Hospital after we stabilized him was 45%, which is not that bad for a severe triple vessel disease and a massive heart attack, which he ignored for 3 days. So after that, he went out 1 year. We didn't hear anything. He had a cardiologist in Reno, and that cardiologist performed the echocardiogram. Yeah.
Dr. Patel, this is Helen Park. So I appreciate the explanation. I think you've given us enough context on that. And then I'm not too concerned about that as we're dealing with the controlled substances, but I appreciate your willingness to share. So thank you. But I think we could continue on. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
So, Ms. Beggs, you might want to speak to this, but there was, it looks like in December of 2017, Dr. Patel was indicted by a federal grand jury in Nevada for numerous counts related to the distribution of controlled substances and healthcare fraud. It looks like you entered into a plea agreement as a result. And I know that, Dr. Patel, you submitted a letter to the board yesterday. We did provide copies to the board members. I don't know if they have had the chance to read that letter yet. But either of you, if you'd like to kind of explain what happened, what led to that indictment and the plea agreement.
Right. So may I have your permission to read that statement?
Well, Dr. Patel, they have the statement. Madam President, if you'd like Dr. Patel to read the statement, we can have him do so, or if the board would prefer just to review the statement.
Yeah, so we've had an opportunity to review the statement. If there's anything else, Dr. Patel or Ms. Beggs, any additional context you'd like to provide, or anything you'd like us to focus on, please feel free to share that. But otherwise, we have seen the document.
Okay, thank you. So I would say just very briefly that during this period of time, and I think this board has seen several physicians who had been the subject of federal indictments related to the prescribing of controlled substances to patients. So I want to be very clear that the plea agreement was one count of distribute a controlled substance. And that was related to patient care and the appropriateness of prescribing the controlled substances. So, I just want to be very clear with that. Dr. Patel did enter the plea to the one count. There was a conviction in May of 2019. He did serve the time that he was required to do so in the Federal Bureau of Prisons and then was placed on probation. He was placed on parole. He was granted an early discharge of the parole in April of 2024. So he currently is under no restrictions from the federal government. I think the case was fairly complicated, so we can certainly discuss it. But I will say that Dr. Patel, did everything that he was required to do. I think, with a lot of the physicians that we have in the rural communities that engage in the prescribing of controlled substances outside of just their normal specialty, that maybe for chronic pain to treat patients that are in their area, that in essence is in a very oversimplified description of what happened here. But I can assure the board that Dr. Patel has done a lot of introspection regarding his scope of practice. He intends to focus solely on office-based cardiology going forward. As I stated, he did appear before the Nevada State Board of Medical Examiners in December on his application and was granted licensure with the preceptorship, which was based more on the length of time out of clinical practice than any, concerns related to the underlying criminal action.
So on that case, so there's a lot of documentation, which I appreciate was provided. But it's a lot of information and as you stated, Ms. Beggs, it is kind of complicated.
Yes.
Could you just briefly for the board, explain the nature of what has happened because it pertains to controlled substances. So I just want to make sure that we are understanding that case factually. Can you provide some context on that?
I can, and if you don't mind, I just want to pull up my my information on that, just because.
Certainly, yeah.
Because
and Lynn, while you're doing Dave Weiss for the record, I think focus on. Obviously, he's paid his time. We all recognize that. So, and the board does give second chances, but we just need to focus on exactly where he ran wrong with the prescribing of the controlled substance, not like the time spent. We have all that record. Like, what did he do? And then what is he going to do in the future to not have that be what he does?
Thank you. Yep.
I mean, in essence, and again, I would say this was a situation, and if you look at the criminal indictment, the issue was whether or not controlled substance were prescribed for a legitimate medical purpose. Ultimately, in this case, I believe Dr. Patel and his defense counsel believe that there was a defense to be mounted. They opted, though, in an abundance of caution, to enter a plea to one count of the distribution, and that is just a function of federal law, frankly. But the counts themselves were related to prescribing without a legitimate purpose. There was no illegal sale of controlled substances or anything along those lines.
Let's talk about that, Lynn. So, and I'm going to just for the board, the feds have changed how they do these cases. So when they process these cases in 2018, they were done a certain way, and they change them now. And there's been counter lawsuits back that have had the feds back off a certain area. So it's just the nature of it. But at the time, how was he running his practice that there was no bona fide relationship? Was he prescribing and he wasn't seeing the patients, or and obviously there's a medical necessity and we don't need to prove that or whatever, but just like, what was he doing in his practice that caused this to happen, do you think? Or he can answer it.
Well, I think Dr. Patel, you can, well, I'll let Dr. Patel take this.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So basically, I went through the proper protocol in my practice always. It's not like I gave prescription for no medical need. They sent undercover agents to my office. I never gave it to them. I always follow the proper guidelines. Even back in 2015, this case is emanating from back then, actually. And without any proper need, after exhausting physical therapy, NSAIDs, and all other topical pain medications, etc., doing X-ray, doing the CAT scan, for example, for the lumbosacral spine, sending him to Reno for spinal surgery consult. After exhausting basically everything, then I gave like 1 or 2 pills of hydrocodone, and even then, if the pain was not controlled, I referred them to the pain management clinic located in Elko itself. So that was the scope of my practice.
Okay, all right. So yeah, I'm now I was confused, but now I know. So did you store drugs at your house when the police came and they went to your house? Did you have medication stored at your house?
No. I never bought and sold any medications to anyone. I never stored any controlled substance.
No, I'm not saying stole.
Yeah.
I'm talking about outdated radioactive medication that were in a proper container. But did you have that at your house?
There were some lead. The radioactive stuff comes in lead containers, right?
Okay.
So
And then
for
did you?
resampling-
Okay. And then were you accused of using somebody's MRI that wasn't their MRI on a different patient?
Absolutely not. I mean,
You were
I
not.
don't have anything. No, not at all. I have nothing to do with
Okay.
MRI.
So you did, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, and I'm just trying to help you, Madam President, because I do remember this case more now. So did they send undercover agents to get prescriptions from you?
Yes, they did.
Okay, and then and you're under oath and we can check the record, did they charge you for the activities that went with those? Because you said you didn't do anything right, but they didn't charge you with anything that you did with those. They charged you with other patients, is that correct?
That's correct. For doing
thank you.
absolutely, yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
And Mr. Weiss, some of that is addressed in his letter. The undercover agents mentioned that he felt pressured into the plea deal, just to explain that for the.
That is very common.
Right.
Okay, so I personally don't feel you get here without taking some shortcuts. And so did you do that back then? Did you recognize there were shortcuts taken in prescribing controlled substances?
Definitely not. Definitely
You don't-
not.
you
Because
don't
as I
believe
said that you come into my office and ask for pain medication, especially hydrocodone, oxycodone, I never will give it to you. I mean, no regular doctor will give it to you, not even dream about it. Absolutely
Okay,
not.
so I think that happened, you did plead to it, we recognize that, but how do they get to where they can determine, because their goal is to give the application or to give the approval. They do that the vast majority of times. But how do they get to a place where they can feel comfortable that something's changed, that this isn't going to happen? And Lynn, you can jump in too, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Eileen, you know where I'm going, right, Lynn?
Well, I do. And the first thing I want to say is this period of time was prior to the significant modifications that were made in 2017 and 2019 in regard to the requirements of a provider in prescribing a controlled substance,
Agreed.
especially for chronic pain. So I want to make sure that we're clear on the timeline. I think one of the key issues here, and I've seen this as you alluded to, Dave, there was a period of time here where the Fed was really looking at physicians that were prescribing controlled substances, frankly, outside of their specialty. So Dr. Patel is a cardiologist by training, and he was prescribing controlled substances basically for chronic pain, as he's described. So in that regard, I think that Dr. Patel would agree that as far as, especially with the changes that have occurred and have been in place now for, going on, 7-8 years, as far as requirements for treating a patient. Number one, Dr. Patel would stress to this board, and I'll stress this on his behalf, that he does not intend to do any pain treatment unless it would, say, be for acute pain that's related to a procedure that he is performing. And like I say, right now, the intention is not to be performing any interventional radiology procedures. Secondly, I think, Dr. Patel has definitely, especially during the years that he hasn't been practicing, has had a lot of time to think about how he would like to continue practicing. He is focused on outpatient cardiology care, primary care, no pain management. I think, quite frankly, he is here today because the CS registration is really just a necessity for those times when he needs to prescribe a controlled substance, but he has no intention of regularly prescribing, frankly. I think that I can assure the board that, number one, he is aware of the requirements for prescribing a controlled substance now under the changes that were made to 454 and 639. But yes, and I would say the other part of this, and I think the good thing about Dr. Patel being under a preceptorship for the first year of practice is he will be working with another physician. So if there are any questions or issues that come up in regard to any prescribing related issues, he's got a preceptor who's going to be there to help him along the way.
Okay, and I everything you said is right. I mean, I think the world's changed from that time, and I do think they focused on that. And Elko doesn't have a lot of these providers, so I can see the draw to help people. I got to go back to the MRI though. At the time, were you doing MRIs on people related to?
No.
You never did.
No MRI.
But you had
MRI.
The issue was EKGs and X-rays.
Okay. So, sorry. Thank you. So, did you store diagnostic products at your house?
No,
Or
there
have
are
it your-
empty shelves, actually. Empty shelves of lead container, right? So I wanted to recycle that. So there were some empty lead shelves. That's it. There was nothing in there. There was no radioactive. It was all allegations just to make the case spicy on their behalf. As
Fine.
simple as that.
Why were they there
Absolutely
then?
no radio-
I had to go pick them up, so I remember it. So why were they there?
Right. I mean, that's their part of the investigation, I guess, but they did not find any radioactive substance at my home. Absolutely not. They were empty shells of lead. That's it. That's what.
Okay, and let's talk about the X-rays and because I do think it relates to the control. So the X-rays, and I don't remember that well, and I'm not saying, I mean, we're not relitigating anything, but were there, the wrong patient got the wrong X-ray, and was there some of that happened?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Okay.
Each patient, yes, nobody got anything wrong in my clinic. Absolutely not.
Okay. All right. This is a difficult one, obviously, for you, but I'll jump in if I have to, but I think I've tried to set the foundation for you.
I just want to stress that in an indictment, factual allegations can be made. There were no findings against Dr. Patel on any of that, and there was only a plea entered to one count of distributing a controlled substance, and that was related to prescribing without a legitimate medical purpose.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I just think where he's here, and I just wanted to know if it happened, and he's answered it, and I accept his answer.
Absolutely not.
And I would say that I would, there's Fifth Amendment, privilege that apply to that.
That's fine. Thanks, but we're just trying to protect the public, and you know that, Lynn. So
I understand.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for that. So board members, just so that you know, as a result of the plea agreement, Dr. Patel was sentenced to 37 months in federal prison. He had 36 months of supervised release. I know that he completed that a little bit earlier, and he did complete all the terms of his release. Did he pay that $500,000 fine, Ms. Begg?
He would have had to before they would release him from parole. So he was released in April of 2024.
Okay. And then it looks like there was some reciprocal discipline. So you talked about the med board and how he has regained his licensure. It looks like the New York Board of Professional Medical Conduct also, he had an expired license and then they revoked in 2020 as well. And it looks like the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services also issued disciplinary findings in 2021. And they held a hearing which Dr. Patel did not appear. Is that all correct, Ms. Dykes?
Yes, there were reciprocal actions based on the revocation. Well, I should say there was a stipulated revocation with the Nevada State Medical Board in 2019. And then based on that action, as would be expected, in the states where Dr. Patel had previously and currently held licenses took reciprocal action on that.
Okay,
Based on the action of the Nevada Medical Board.
And his licensure was in Nevada, New York, and Nebraska, correct?
He had an expired license in New York. However, the way New York's statutes work is they retain jurisdiction. So they did take a reciprocal action. And then Nebraska, he had a active license at the time, which was revoked. Currently, Dr. Patel only holds an active license in the state of Nevada, and it has no intention of reactivating Nebraska at this point. No need to.
I know you had some dialoguing with Mr. Reese about, kind of what he's learned and the steps that he's taking. So those are all the questions I have. I'll go ahead and turn it over to the board for discussion.
For the board to try to help you with the path. I mean, you generally, you do give people second chances, and many times you take a stepwise approach to things, and you're probably already thinking about that. So it's clearly in your jurisdiction I don't know if he needs the Schedule 2s to start or what you want to do with that, but I think a stepwise approach, and then from board staff, some time with the PMP staff is obviously would be something that we would recommend.
Yeah, so I thank you, Mr. Weiss. I do have some general questions, and that is kind of what I'm thinking too in terms of potential next steps. So Dr. Patel mentioned working in Elko, but the application has like a St. Rose, I think a Nevada address. I just wanted to clarify his workplace.
No, he resides in Elko.
Okay.
He's on a preceptorship, and the preceptor is in Las Vegas.
Okay, so that's the preceptor's address.
But he is practicing in Las Vegas. So what he's doing is he's basically commuting back and forth between Elko and Las Vegas. So he'll go down to Las Vegas for a few days, practice, and then return home. So his practice address is Las Vegas.
Okay, and then is the intent to work in Las Vegas or back to Elko?
I think ultimately Dr. Patel would like to return to practice in Elko. The challenge we have at this point in time is Dr. Patel is still on the OIG exclusion list, which really limits his employment options in Elko at this point in time. So we are working on the OIG exclusion. So right now for the next year, I mean, the new preceptor was approved in mid-March. So basically for the next year, he will be practicing in Las Vegas as we go through that OIG exclusion process of trying to get him reinstated there. Like I say, ultimately, he would obviously like to be working a little closer to home, and be providing services in the rural area in which he lives. But until we get that exclusion lifted, it does limit those employment opportunities there.
And this is one of the steps towards getting off that list. So
Okay.
help him get off the list.
And then the Nevada Board of Medical Examiners has imposed the preceptorship. Are there any other restrictions or conditions on his license?
No, the only thing that he has right now is that the preceptor has to review a certain percentage of charts each quarter and provide a monthly report to the BME compliance officer.
How long is the preceptorship?
It's 12 months, so it'd be 12 months from this March because he started with the new preceptor of March. So it'd be March of 2026 that he'll be done with the preceptorship. However, I would note that if the preceptor has any concerns that they note to the board, it can be expanded upon, if the board feels that it needs to be expanded. Right now, we're early days. We don't anticipate there to be any concerns. We certainly hope there are not, but it is a minimum of 12 months.
And then I think I know the answer, but to make it, just so we're all very clear. But were there ever any issues with Dr. Patel and any substance use disorder or diversion?
No, none at all.
No,
Okay.
no.
Thank you. And then what is, Dr. Patel, what is your familiarity with our PMP system?
Probably not
last 5
much
years
because
I worked-
he's been gone. So to Lynn's point.
He's not practiced since, I think approximately 2016. So we're educating on that at this point.
Okay, we're relearning. Okay.
Yes.
And
yes.
then what controlled substances do you anticipate that you would need?
Dr. Patel?
Yes. Yeah. So basically short term, like, benzodiazepine or some anxiety medications, maybe some linaclotide, some simple medications like that for the management of patient ailments on a short term basis.
So I think, Madam President, I would say, heard the comment being discussed. I think Dr. Patel would be open to having, not being allowed to prescribe controlled twos at this point in time. And certainly I think, regaining the board's trust, we're very, cognizant of that. I don't think at this point in time there would be a need for him to prescribe Schedule 2. So I think he would be very open to the board not including Schedule 2s on his current, if the board were inclined to grant the application for a CS registration.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Board members.
Madam President, could I just interject for one moment?
Certainly.
Mr. Reese, you mentioned the EKGs and the X-rays. They are contained in the materials that were submitted. It's page 3017 of the board book. So that's the sealed indictment, and it's in kind of the introduction of the indictment. It looks like Dr. Patel was alleged to have basically conducted EKGs on his patients so he could order nuclear stress tests. And it was alleged to take place without medical necessity. It says that he utilized poorly calibrated machines and presented his patients with fraudulent X-rays in order to deceive his patients into thinking they had coronary issues that he needed to treat. So I think that's what you're referencing.
I knew, but then I'm gonna go back to Lynn's point. He didn't get charged for that. And I personally accept his answer to it. I knew about it and I was saying MRI, so I apologize.
Summary is correct.
But again, to Lynn's point, that's not what we have in front of you. And I think in all these cases, my hope is that people realize how they've went astray and you guys give them another chance and then they help us take care of patients.
Right.
Okay, board members, any additional questions before we move to discussion?
No, I have discussion.
Okay, ready for discussion? All right, let's move into discussion.
Adam Porth for the record. I have serious concerns, just based on the criminal history here. Ultimately, this is someone that pled guilty to misuse of controlled substances. So I don't feel like during his preceptorship there is a necessity to have a controlled substance license. There's another provider there that if there is the rare instance in an outpatient cardiology practice that you would need to prescribe something like this, there's another provider to be able to handle that. So I would prefer to revisit this in March of next year when the preceptorship is over, or potentially we will have learned that it's been extended, so that we can, the necessity is really going to be when he returns to practice in Elko. It's not right now. And so I'm just not comfortable with it right now.
I just want to clarify that the preceptor does not have to be on site at all times. So there are definitely times when Dr. Patel will not be practicing directly with the preceptor in the same office.
Well, again, I think that if the issue, and I respect everything you're saying, but I'm always trying to find a path. Maybe no pain meds then, and maybe just the benzos start, but I'm not, again, you guys make the decisions, but I'm just saying you have all these different options.
I agree with Dr. Porath. I'm inclined to wait until this preceptorship is completed before we revisit the idea of allowing responded to, or applicant, apologies, to apply for a controlled substance registration.
I have serious concerns as well. I'd be open to maybe just the benzodiazepines, but that's where I'm at this point.
Same, Crystal Freitas, so same thoughts. I mean, it's very serious, but I'd be okay with the same thing, just the benzodiazepines if he needed it. So.
Mr. Tomaso, what are your thoughts? You're the public member.
Well, I know in the past that we've given second chances to people that did do, that we've given second chances to doctors that did pay the penalty and either served time or paid a big fine or lost their license and had it returned. The fact that the medical board gave him his license back, that weighs on it, but I would think it's very difficult to be a doctor and not have the ability to prescribe certain drugs. So I would agree with Helen and Crystal that we should allow them to have some prescription, some medical drugs to prescribe as long as he doesn't care for number 2. And he's just looking at some off of 3 and 4. I'm good with it, giving him a chance. I mean, the fact that he has a preceptor is like he's on probation or parole. This guy's watching his every move. So it'd be tough for him to stray from it. So I'm for giving him a chance and see what happens in next March. Comes before us in March. We can consider how did he do this last year and give him more controlled substances.
Thank you. And then wanted to give board member Carr an opportunity to speak as well.
You're unmuted, Anna.
Thank you for the opportunity. Board member Anna Carr for the record. Will those controlled substance prescriptions be reviewed by the precepting provider? I think that would be good oversight as well, just an additional thought to ensure the integrity of the prescriptions moving thus forward.
I can tell you, Ms. Carr, if you give me just one moment, I can tell you exactly what the preceptorship entails. There's not, for the medical board preceptorship, there's not a specific provision regarding controlled substances, but I will say that for months 1 through 4 of the preceptorship, 100% of Dr. Patel's charts are reviewed by the preceptor. For months 5 through 8, 67% are reviewed. And then for months 9 through 12, there's a 33% chart review. So in essence, the controlled substances would be reviewed because right now, for the next 3 months at least, the preceptor is going to be reviewing 100% of Dr. Patel's charts.
Fantastic. Thank you for your answer. I think that increases my comfort level with the scheduling of the benzodiazepines and allowing him to be able to prescribe those.
So I'm there too. I'm concerned. So by all means, I'm not saying that I'm, fully comfortable at this point, but perhaps to allow Dr. Patel to regain some of that trust and rebuild, I am open to limiting and strictly limiting to potentially just for the benzodiazepines for Schedule 4, knowing that he's under this preceptorship, that they're being evaluated. I think that's the extent that I'm willing to go, but I do understand the concerns expressed by Board Member Porath and Jacobo.
So, Madam President, if I may, pardon me, I'm so sorry. I just wanted to add just one comment for thought is, and again, I'm excluding Schedule 2s from this. I do think that right now that those are not needed and those were the issue within the criminal indictment. But it seems to me, looking at this, isn't it better to allow Dr. Patel the ability to start prescribing Schedules 3s and 4s while he is under a preceptorship, rather than waiting until he is allowed independent practice without that preceptorship and then, dumping him into the prescribing. So just my thought, if you want that monitor and you want to make sure that he's doing it correctly, this seems like the opportunity to have more eyes on him to ensure that that is occurring. Just my thought.
Madam President, I'm still gonna vote against it, but I would recommend that you guys require doctors to undergo PMP training with board staff if that's the route you guys are going.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cobo. Ms. Pora?
Adam Port for the record. I mean, I guess the only, I could see 4s and 5s. I would be willing to allow that. I don't see any necessity within a primary care / cardiology practice for an emergent Schedule III prescription. So if we're willing to limit it to Schedule 4 and 5,
I would say just 4 and 5 with the additional PMP training.
I could live with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the PMP, I would just have him meet quarterly with Darla or one of her staff members quarterly for the next year. And review his PMP. He'll be in compliance with the law. It'll start with, what the law says now. I'm glad that Lynn's helping her, but we'll do it too. And then we'll just get him how this is, before you prescribe, this is what you have to do.
All right. Board members, any other comments?
Would we require initial PMP and then quarterly, or would it just start?
It would be initial, because when he goes, the way it goes is you sign up for PMP first, but it doesn't get turned on. And you get your controlled substance. And before they turn the PMP fully and he can't prescribe till it's fully turned on, she'll do, this is this current state of the law. This is what you need to look for. And then in 3 months, they'll go back and look at what he prescribed. It may not be much, but they'll go over and see what he prescribed. I think giving him the DEA and the controlled substance will get him back on the path. And I think they already know that this is going to be a lengthy path.
All right, board, are we ready for a motion?
I can try. Crystal Freitas. So I'd move we approve controlled substance application for Dr. Patel, limiting him to schedules 4 and 5 prescribing. And that he meet quarterly with our PMP board staff.
And that'll be on Zoom, Lynn, or, over telephonic.
We have a motion by Ms. Freitas. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Second by Mr. Tomaso. Any further discussion?
I think this would work if he comes back to us in next March, if he wants to, and he performs, does everything to PMP. The preceptor says this guy did everything perfect, no problems, and then we could just discuss 2 and 3 at that time, and at least we get a track record to fall back on. But otherwise, everybody in the state, every pharmacist, every doctor that gets convicted, tell them, don't ever come back before this board because you were convicted. We're not going to give you a second chance. So, we don't do that. We take every circumstance and we do give second chances. I sat here for 4 years and watched us give doctors second chances that did time and paid the price. We still let them go, and so far it hasn't come back to bite us. So I think that this board is doing the right thing today by at least giving him a shot, have him come back and give him, how did he do after those this year with the preceptor? Because we just can't take the reputation of saying, don't even come back if you've been convicted.
I look forward to having Dr. Patel come back in March and tell us about all the wonderful things and how he's helped our community and served patients well. So that is something that we'll look forward to. We appreciate your sentiments there. All right, any other discussion? All right, we have a motion by Ms. Freitas, a second by Mr. Tomaso. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so we have 1 nay, so the ayes have it. That motion passes. Dr. Patel, we wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day. Okay, we'll go to 10A, Wedgewood Pharmacy. Wedgewood Pharmacy, if you can raise your hands. Welcome back, Dr. Dodge. Welcome back, Ms. Wusso.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and then just as a reminder, you are still under oath. Okay, and then is your Counsel, do we have your counsel on the line?
I believe she is. I'm looking to see her name. I'm gonna message her. She said she was dialed in.
And if you're there, could you raise your hand or let us know?
Madam President, I would suggest you proceed and then we'll just
Okay.
have to stop if we need it.
All right, so I will turn it over to Mr. Dodge.
Thank you, Madam President. This is an application for Wedgwood Pharmacy, a new out-of-state pharmacy located in Bakersfield, California. On the application, they check that they will be performing sterile and non-sterile compounding and veterinary compounding. Ms. Wosso, I'll just have some questions for you today, mostly
Okay.
related to the sterile compounding process.
Sure.
First question is related to Wedgwood Pharmacy. So was this location previously called Precision Equine?
Yes, we were. Yes, we were Precision Pharmacy, and then we had a name change a few years back to Precision Equine, and then in April of 2004, we became part of Wedgwood.
April 2024, last year?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. And how long have you been at the location?
I've been with Precision for about 17 years.
Okay, great.
I'm their
Excellent.
oldest employee now. No, in age and
Fantastic.
in time with company.
That's a lot better than age.
Yeah.
On the application that was submitted to us, there were some disclosures, and it was specifically related to the Wedgwood location in New Jersey.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with those disclosures or not.
I mean, I've read them. I'm not very familiar. That's what Anne would have to speak on.
I think I can have you answer the question. So
Okay.
the two most recent disclosures in 2021 and 2024 were both issued by the California Board of Pharmacy, and it was related to using extended beyond use dates without the proper documentation. And once again, that was specific for the New Jersey location. I just want to confirm that your location in Bakersfield has never had any disclosures related to using extended beyond use dates without the proper documentation from California.
No, correct. No. And with California too, even when we were Precision, we had always performed California required the forced degradation studies early on for extending beyond use dates. So we were already in line and that was a regular practice for us for quite a while.
Great. And there's no disclosures that were presented for the Bakersfield, California location.
No.
Okay, great. Excellent. I just want to make sure I have the players correct. So you are the pharmacy manager at the location, is that correct?
I am. I became the pharmacy manager at this location in November, and I'm also the quality manager. Before that, I was the non-sterile compounding supervisor. Before that, I was the assistant manager, and I had been the PIC when the PIC would go on maternity leave, and I also was the PIC temporarily for 2014.
Okay, great. And Fu Din is your designated person for USP 797. Is that still correct?
Yes, he's our pharmacist sterile compounding supervisor.
Great. And you have Rajini Shah is your Nevada licensed pharmacist. Is
Yes,
that correct?
Rajini Shah. Yes, she's worked with us for. I was trying to figure out how long she's worked for us, but definitely for many years. And we didn't realize that she had a Nevada license. And so when we were Precision. In 2023, our pharmacist that had the Nevada license passed away suddenly, and then we couldn't continue business with Nevada, and we did not know that she had a license. And it's just been more recently. I'm working on the Nevada license. I've already done the license transfer process, so I will be working on that. But she had the license, so we could go ahead and move forward with the application.
Great, excellent. And your location only does veterinary compounding, is that correct?
We do.
Okay. And there's multiple Wedgwood locations in California, is that correct?
Yes. Oh, no, in California, oh, yes, there's Nevada, but that one was closing. And then there's a Wedgwood Connect, a 503B facility in California.
What's the purpose of your location getting licensed in Nevada?
So it's really for, well, we do more of the equine. We do some small animal, but we do more equine. And so it's really we're also a closer location than New Jersey to basically serve the patients so we can get medications to them sooner. Arizona is more of small animal, so we just have a different patient base as well.
So the other location in New Jersey is doing similar products as you're
They
doing?
do, there's some products that we would just do, but they do, New Jersey does small animal and equine.
Okay, great. I'll move on to a few sterile compounding questions.
Okay.
Thanks for completing the sterile compounding questionnaire. It appears that you guys are doing all category 3 compounding at your location. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you sent some extensive policies and procedures. So it looks like maybe from a corporate perspective, do they support you in your policies and procedures as it relates to USP 797?
Yes, and since we're kind of still in this transition period, we have our site has our own SOPs, and we're also working on cross-site SOPs as well for an alignment with all locations. So we there might be some SOPs that might still say Precision Equine because we're still been switching that over to say Wedgwood.
So you're transitioning to the Wedgwood policies and procedures, is that correct?
Yeah, we're transitioning, and then but we also are working together as cross-site so that we're all aligned.
Okay. Just a few questions for you since you're doing category 3. I just want to make sure you're meeting all the requirements per the revised USP 797 guidelines. So for personnel qualifications, are you doing your garbing, aseptic manipulation, and gowning every 3 months for your employees?
Yes, every 3 months. Mhm.
Okay. And what's your frequency for your viable air sampling?
For the viable air sampling, so in addition to the third-party certification every 6 months, we do monthly air sampling.
Perfect. Fantastic. And you're doing surface sampling at least on a weekly basis or with each batch?
Both, correct. Mhm.
Okay, great. And do you have stability indicating studies for all of your products?
Yes.
Great. And you're doing sterility and endotoxin testing on each batch as well?
Yes.
And
We
which
send both of those tests out.
which labs are you using to perform that testing?
So it's ARL and Front Range Labs. We were using CIL, but then I believe it was in September when they stopped, when they were closing. So now it's just ARL and Front Range.
Okay. And you have pharmacy technicians that are performing the sterile compounding at your location?
We do.
Can you talk just a little bit about the training process for a new
Sure.
technician?
They get an initial minimum of 40 hours training that helps also helps qualify them for the Texas requirements as well, which they have to have a minimum of a 40-hour program. So they're sent out. It's been to the LP3 network course, so that's part of the initial. And then they get the 3 glove tests. Then they go through in-house training program. We've got quizzes, and we also just have signed on to Critical Point. So now they're going to be doing the Critical Point modules as well for ongoing didactic training.
Great. Excellent. Thank you. Also, with your application, you submitted your most recent California Board of Pharmacy inspection. That was from December 2023. Is that still the most recent inspection?
No, we were inspected. It was January 24th.
Okay. Can you give us the results of that inspection? Any follow-up issues that were required?
Yep, the inspection went very well. There was the only item, there was nothing marked as deficient. The only thing we did need to show proof of compliance was we needed to use sterile masks. We didn't have sterile masks in the clean room. So we had to show proof of compliance. We purchased the sterile masks immediately that day with the inspector here. And also when the technician garbed, there was, they were wearing safety glasses instead of goggles. So there was a little bit of skin showing. So we switched to safety goggles. So there's absolutely no skin showing. And we sent proof of compliance with new garbing assessments and also photos to the inspector.
Great. And the sterile masks are a requirement for performing category 3 sterile compounding?
Yes. And I think there was probably just a misunderstanding where it was, if it said like low lint garb, I think we were just thinking it meant like the hood and the garb, not the actual mask. So we immediately switched to the sterile masks. Excellent.
And do you have any accreditations at your location there?
We are PCAB accredited.
Okay. And when is that good through? Do you know?
It's September 26 or 27. I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me, but it's definitely not this year.
Okay. And how many states are you currently licensed in?
Okay. That's been something that I've been working on. So we are licensed in everywhere except Nevada and Nebraska, because Nebraska was my last test that I did. So so we're in the application process of Nebraska and also Nevada, and then we are licensed everywhere.
Great. Thank you for your time today, Madam President. That's all the questions that I had.
Very thorough, Joe.
Yes.
Thank you.
Wait a minute, Joe. Joe, do you have any problem?
I do not have any problems or issues.
Is that a motion, Dick?
It's a motion. If you doesn't have any problem, this board doesn't have any problems.
All right, we appreciate the responses and the thorough questions and responses. We have a motion by Mr. Tomaso to approve the application for out-of-state pharmacy license for Wedgewood Pharmacy LLC, and a second from Mr. Kobo. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe.
Thank you.
You're
Thanks, Joe.
welcome.
Thank you. As our final order of business today, I'll open up the floor for any public comment. If we have anyone online who wishes to make a public comment, please raise your hand or let us know.
Not seeing anybody, Madam President. No filibuster for you guys.
Okay, so that completes our agenda for this board meeting. Our next board meeting is scheduled for June 4th and 5th, and that will be held in Las Vegas. Thank you so much. The meeting is now adjourned.